Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is... What is this? It's Thursday. That's a start. I believe it's also May. We've entered May, and I haven't seen a lot of Star Wars references yet, so it can't be the 4th. Therefore, it is the 3rd, 2018. It's been a busy week over here at the Nova household. Lots of moving preparations happening. Lots of money being spent. Not my favorite activity, but it has to happen one way or another, I suppose. And now here we are. We're getting the podcast back in. We're getting it going. I need to shower. I smell like a homeless man. I need to clean my beard up. I'm literally just in my own filth right now, making the magic happen. Gentlemen, how are you doing today? Mr. Panic, how are you now that it's been a couple of weeks since we've been able to get you on for work reasons and reschedules for...
it's all rescheduling reasons. Rescheduling reasons.
Sweet Jesus, you're louder. Thank you. No, that's okay. It might not be on your end. Hold on. It's okay. It's just sometimes Discord... Okay. Sometimes Discord likes to just press buttons.
For me too. Well, I'll turn them down.
Just, yeah, maybe, well, maybe it is then on your... I don't know, but sometimes Discord likes to do things... Yeah, that's the first time you've been loud on Discord ever. In the history of the program, the first time that you've ever been so loud. But we can...
How about now?
That's now we're back in the realm of normalcy.
Yes, plus 15 dB does that to you.
Okay, yeah. Yes, it would. That's a yes. It's a hard yes. I would maybe go add about 3 dB to yourself right now, though.
How about now?
Yeah, that's better. Well, I can live with that. All right. Well, there you go. Now that we've all had our hearing tested, Mr. Black, how are you doing?
I'm all right.
And then I'll go back to Panic after you've explained. But yes, you good? Nothing particularly crazy this week. It's another week in the life of Mr. MaximusBlack.
Yeah, I started my real estate course. Started that last night, so back in school, semi. So there's that.
School.
But it's so far it's like there's a lot of videos and shit, so it's actually not bad. It's like
okay. What kind of are we talking? Like, are we talking 1950s instructional videos for dodgeball, or are we talking we're going to driving school and it's like 90s representation of people running into pylons?
I would say like sort of in the middle. A
Okay.
lot of
Commercial level.
Well, it's they use like a lot of animations. Like there's a like a virtual teacher.
Oh boy.
And then there's a guy like kind of voiceovering the teacher type thing. Like you don't see.
Oh my god.
So far, anyway. I mean, I just started last night, so
I hope all of it's like that.
I want to say it is because there's like a 25-minute introductory video where they show you like the software and stuff that they use is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you can like make notes on pages and like there's all kinds of shit to it.
Is there like sick elevator music?
Yeah, there is some good music in the background, and everything makes noise. So like when you click on like an X or you hover over.
So this is like a putt game, is what you're telling me right now. This is like
that's
Freddy the
really
Fish
good.
or putt.
They got to
way
keep
to
you
describe
engaged somehow. Like otherwise you'll just get bored watching videos. So
that's
they give you
incredible.
feedback and stuff.
It's like that's like some Netscape Navigator. Like go to my GeoCities page and check out all the dope shit I've got on it.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. But that was just first night, so
Not bad.
We'll see.
Oh yeah, wait a minute. How do I not have either of you? Oh wait, I see. Hold on. People are saying there's no face cams for Jeff or Panic. I might have a reason for that. No, wait. No, you guys should be up. What? Why is that? Oh, we got it. I don't know how both of you got turned off there on the screen, but we're back. There we go. We're good. There you go. We're okay. All right, now Panic. Back to you. Now that we don't die from hearing loss, how's your last couple weeks been?
Well, I mean, I had a charity dinner 2 podcasts ago, which with the Wednesday rescheduling, ended up having to go to that.
Okay.
Which went pretty well. Then last week, with Jeff going to Avengers and the podcast starting early, I couldn't get home in time, which was sad because I was excited to see what Jeff's pre-reactions to Avengers would be.
We didn't go watch it. You didn't miss anything because we didn't really go into it. We just kind of avoided that shit like the plague.
Yeah. And then I've also I might have to go to rehab because I'm addicted to Battletech. So there's
Good. Oh well, we're going to talk about that today in various degrees.
Yeah.
Also, before I move on, add another
Completely
3.
addicted to that
Add
game.
another 3 to yourself, sir.
How about now?
Yeah, that's definitely now. I can work with that. Now I can work with that.
Perfect.
So let me just take a look over at my rap sheet here that we've got for this week. Red Dead Redemption 2's trailer number 3 hit. I want to say yesterday. My days kind of blended together this week because I've just lived inside of an IKEA and Home Depot for like 4 straight days now. So I don't know what day it was. I want to say it was yesterday. Yes, Gab's hometown, the land of the Europeans, the massive IKEA.
The Swedish embassy. Many fond memories there.
It landed, and this is okay. So yeah, trailer number 3. There's still no gameplay, or anything like that in the trailer.
Really? At this point, they don't have gameplay yet?
Yeah,
Wow.
which was surprising. I thought by now, but maybe they're saving gameplay for E3. There's probably going to be like a really long E3, like on stage Red Dead Redemption, play. I could just see that being a thing. Now, whose stage it will be on, who knows? Maybe it will be on both of the stages. I have no idea. We have had that in the past where games have been represented in the press conferences on both Sony and Microsoft stage. So. Who knows? But I think that's probably the idea would be that they're gonna wait and show some stuff off closer or in and around, maybe not necessarily at E3, but in and around it. I don't know, but it is still weird that we haven't seen any yet. I'm not worried about it because let's be honest, the gameplay is probably gonna be just fine. This isn't their first, mind the pun. This isn't their first rodeo. But I would imagine it's probably going to be really good. I think really the only question marks for gameplay is, what is there multiplayer in this one? The answer to that's probably yes. And then what form does the multiplayer come in? Do they track along with what they did with GTA 5, or do they figure out some other branch of multiplayer? But I watched the trailer. I don't know if you guys saw it. It does look good. The voice acting is another 11 out of 10 Rockstar moment. The animation is another 11 out of 10 Rockstar moment. We saw young, this isn't a spoiler or anything, I guess it's a spoiler if you want to go watch the trailer or something and not know what's going to happen in the trailer. But young John Marston is in this. This happens before, I guess, or at least parts of it happen before Red Dead Redemption.
So Red Dead Redemption, the pre-sequel?
Yes, basically.
Okay.
Nice. So young John Marston was shown off in the trailer, so that means we're going to get a little more of him, I guess, which is nice because he was a good character in the first. Of course, the main character, but a good character. And some other, I guess, familiar-ish faces also appeared, or to something to that degree. I don't know. You can go watch the trailer. You'll get more out of it than I'll be able to describe to you. All you need to know is that, shocker, it's Rockstar. It looks good. It sounds good. It's probably going to be a really fucking good game and be a Game of the Year contender up against God of War. It's probably going to be those two games beating the shit out of each other to find out who can bring home the most awards this year. Oh, this interested me, and we kind of talked about this actually not ages ago. But remember when we were discussing Battlefield's next game, when we were talking about Call of Duty's current, venturing into World War II or whatever. It seems as though the next Battlefield game is going to be a Bad Company title after all. That's what it seems like it's actually going to happen. It was, I guess, I don't know if leaked is the appropriate term here. It definitely would be intentional regardless, because it seems like it's a person who's actually working it from the inside, tweeted it out, said, yes, by the way, Battlefield's next game is Bad Company 3.
But at the same time, like, he's, had bad leaks before from this guy that weren't actually true.
Yeah,
It could
but
be either way.
but they've been working on this for on what's supposed to have been a Bad Company game, I guess, for quite some time. So the timeline works. They did flashbacky stuff to World War II in Bad Company 2, if I remember correctly.
So the big question is this actual World War II, or is this like Battlefield 1 continuity World War II? You get in a weird area there.
I think it's going to be actual World War II. But who knows? I mean, Battlefield has always been the closer to reality than Call of Duty. It's never been. It's not like it's like a perfect representation of history or some shit. But it's always, you know, aired closer to, you know, reality. So I would hazard a guess that that's going to stay the course. But if that is the case, if it is Bad Company 3. What do you guys think about that? Was Bad Company one of your favorite, or was it a preferred version of Battlefield for you guys, or did you prefer the main line more?
Bad Company 2 was it for me. Like, that was the best Battlefield that they've made, in my opinion. Like, it was one of my favorite Battlefield games ever. Hell, it was one of my favorite team-based shooters that I've played. Like, if it was still around with a huge community, I'd probably be still playing it.
Yeah, I'm sort of in the same boat. Bad Company 2.
We played a
favorite.
lot of it, eh?
Yeah.
The multiplayer on that was just straight fire. It was just like really well done.
Yeah, I could definitely go for some more of that for sure. And that makes it kind of interesting, because there was the talks of the battle royale in the Battlefield universe that Jeff and I talked about either last podcast or the podcast before. And so, so what are your thoughts on Battle Royale in the Bad Company universe versus the mainline Battlefield titles? Do you think it changes it up much? Because it doesn't, like, you wouldn't think that Battlefield and Battlefield Bad Company were wildly different, but they were from a game pace pretty dramatically different.
Well, game pace and some of the mechanics that were included, like a Battle Royale game where you can bring a building down on someone's head would be pretty freaking awesome to watch. Like, that was probably one of my favorite things. In Bad Company 2, I always played the recon guy with the C4. I'd plant it all around a couple of buildings and then wait for people to go in and camp, and then blow up like 4 people at once. And it was just very satisfying watching a building come down like that.
When did Bad Company 2 come out? How long was that? 2009?
Something like that. I'm looking it up now. Bad Company 2. 2010.
Okay, so it's been a hot minute since we've had some Bad Company.
Yeah, they kind of like reset Battlefield and went into that whole we're gonna do software as a service thing with like Battlefield 3 and 4, like with their weird online setups. Like Battlefield Bad Company 2 was like the last like classic. Here's the big box game. You get this. You get a couple of DLCs, but it's like all like a single application before EA went to that whole web app setup thing.
Yeah, Bad Company 2 is a fun game. Like, I'm just rewatching some videos on it right now, and
dude, it was fire.
Dude, that game is dope.
I mean, it probably holds up. If, like Panic said, if there was a community, I bet you it would still hold up pretty damn well right now.
I would play that over a lot of the games that are out right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like right now, it kind of looks sort of where PUBG is at, you know, in terms of graphical stuff.
So pretty good by the standards of 2010 then.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of looks...
8 years ago, not bad.
It kind of looks like PUBG. Except obviously way better.
Well, it's slightly better. But yeah, I would be totally down for Bad Company 3. So if that is the way that it goes, I'm not going to be upset about that whatsoever. Whether or not it has a Battle Royale mode, I don't really care. Just don't fuck it up. Just don't sprinkle so much damn EA all over it. Just let it be. Bad Company 2 sold lots of copies. If you just kind of did right by it and followed that formula, I'm sure it would still sell all sorts of copies and do very well. Just don't do what we know you're probably going to do. Just please. Be great if you could do that. All right, we can come up on let's see. You know, I'm going to save that one because it might roll on a bit. So I'm going to skip over that. I'm going to talk about a couple of Xbox things. First up, the Xbox Duke controller is now officially released and available for purchase for Xbox One and PC. So if you miss
a controller for you,
the perfect controller for me with these hands, it was well, I wouldn't even say that. 360 is still the GOAT, but I personally never had a problem holding the original Duke controller and making use of it. So that's back, and like it has like a 9-foot detachable USB cable. The center Xbox logo that was on the controller is like a little LCD screen that plays through the boot sequence image of the Xbox, which is pretty dope in a totally useless
if that shit
type
acted
of way.
like a VMU, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, it would be pretty awesome.
I missed the VMU, man.
But it's back, and it was weird because when I first saw it announced, like there was a lot of people legitimately excited about it, and I was like confused because it's just been years of like the jokes for the Xbox 2 controller have been very real. I think everyone remembers like the picture of like the massive one or whatever that they had where it was like somebody using both hands to use one analog stick, because it was a monstrous controller. I mean, let's be honest, it was.
Well, that was like there was like a series of articles and I think like a whole documentary series or something about what industrial and product design went into that controller, and apparently like the designer was kind of like screwed with the parts she was given. Like the board was already like Microsoft had already ordered all the boards for this thing, and they're like sitting there like, all right, this board is huge. How do we fit a controller around this and make it like ergonomic? And the interesting thing was that was the first controller for a console she had ever designed.
Wow. So not bad, really, given the shit she was handed. That's not,
they're
that's
like,
not
here's
terrible.
all these parts that you have to use. Make a controller. It was large, but it was not uncomfortable by any stretch of the imagination. It was
so
a good
you're
controller.
saying a woman made the worst controller ever made?
Well, no, it was her first. Again, facts here. Her first
Mad Cats, man.
Her first controller, and the Xbox division had already ordered all the boards for the controllers, meaning she had to design one big enough to encompass this fucking monstrous PCB that they had for the fucking controller.
Yeah, and like the DualShock controller at the time had like a multi-part board that Sony had custom made.
It had like it was like a
vendor
2-story kind of thing, wasn't it?
So they like, and that was like a Japanese thing. So she had tried to go to like the vendor and being like, "Hey, can you make us a smaller board like that?" And one, the Microsoft was like, "No, you can't reorder the parts." And two, the Japanese company's like, "Yeah, sorry, no, we're not going to give it to Microsoft." Like,
rip.
Yeah, they're like, this is they had like the Japanese like national pride of, you know, Sony is making this product, so we're not gonna give you similar size
and
things.
Thus the giant ass monster was created. So yeah, if you're down for that, it is available now. It might just be kind of funky to have around if you're that person.
I might just order one for the cabinet.
Or maybe I guess the upshot to this is, in a weird way, all this Xbox One X backwards compatibility with original Xbox games, you could have your Duke and play them as they originally were with your Duke controller. So instead of your right and left bumpers, you get your black and white buttons back again. Yeah.
It's not even all that expensive. It's like $70.
So when you're playing Morrowind and you need to get your maximum health and you press black, white, black, 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 and you're like, yeah, get fucked, Cliff Racers, come at me, bro. It's better than going right bumper, left bumper and shit, you know? Feel the nostalgia as your hands cramp trying to hold a 50-pound controller. It's gonna be great. 10 out of 10. I might buy one.
Oh my god.
But I'll wait until it's on sale. I'm not about to throw out however much money they're asking for it. Probably cheaper than the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller, which I can segue beautifully into right now, as Steam has now released official support for the Pro Controller. So if for whatever reason you want to use the Pro Controller on the PC and you have Steam, that is now available to you. The $90 Mammoth. I actually put a tweet out here the other day.
How's that holding up for you?
So I bought it because I knew I was going to play some Switch games, and specifically Breath of the Wild right now. Then I'm going to play Mario eventually, for example. Right, and my hands, they they just don't work with these tiny ass Joy-Con fuckery things. Even when it's in the pad, like it just no. So I needed this Pro controller so that I could actually enjoy what I was doing. So I bought this thing. I cringed when I swiped my card and paid that much money for a controller, but it happened. I brought it home. I've only played it. I'm the only person that's used it, and I've only played it or played with it for Breath of the Wild, and that's it. And it's been about 30 hours of gameplay. And so Breath of the Wild isn't like the craziest, most intensive, game ever made. It's relatively slow, even in combat. I tweeted about this, the left analog stick has already started to build up plastic dust around the arm of it. And so there are sections of the analog's throw that are starting to get rough, like it feels rough. It's not a smooth circle anymore because the plastic dust is starting to build up underneath the casing where the analog stick meets the casing. Kind of like if you went back and you picked up an N64 controller from fucking 20 years ago and you took a peek at that bad boy after you played Mario Party and you tried to get Shy Guy across the room and you put a hole in your hand and you look at your analog stick and there's plastic dust all up in that shit. It's the same thing.
Controllers still work, bro. I don't know what you do with yours.
Yeah, mine works fine too, so I don't have a problem with that. But
with what? With which one? Which one?
My N64 and my Switch controller.
I'm not saying it doesn't work. No. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I mean, I've got original N64 controllers, but you know what I mean. If you look in the well of the N64 where the analog stick is, you will see plastic dust build up by nature of just using the controller. And the same thing's happened with the Switch Pro controller in a very short order, to the point where I feel where it is. I've been trying to blow the dust out and fucking get rid of it, but I just started noticing it there.
Gotta exfoliate that controller
last
bro.
time. Yeah, it's weird. But I haven't experienced it with any other controllers than the N64 and the Pro controller. Now, granted, the N64
stick using a softer plastic versus the exterior casing of the controller or whatever.
Yeah, that's what's happening. But the N64 controllers, you never felt it because it wasn't a smooth circle to begin with. It was like that hexagon. So it's not like you could feel it anyway because it was already rough to begin with. But on the Pro controller, it's not quite the same. So yeah, a little disappointing, but it obviously still works fine. I still think it's the most egregiously priced controller possibly ever fucking made, but that's beside the point. Also with Nintendo, they filed, and controller-related stuff, they filed with the FCC a new design for the left, specifically the left Joy-Con controller. I don't know if you guys would remember this, but months and months ago, I think we even talked about it in the podcast where people were experiencing connectivity issues, specifically with the left Joy-Con, and as it turns out, it's because the Bluetooth on the left Joy-Con is pretty much garbage. And
I actually, for the first time, experienced connectivity issues like last week, and you know how I fixed it? It was the most ridiculous thing in the world. I literally raised the controller up like about a foot for a little while and like didn't have my hand on it. I like shook it around and it just caught signal again with the dock. And I'm like, okay. And then it started working again. I was like, all right, good to go.
Yeah, Nintendo admitted that basically it's to do with how the Bluetooth receiver or whatever or antenna in that is not particularly strong. And so depending on who's holding it and how you're holding it, it can actually just flat out disconnect. Like I remember watching videos on like GameSpot and stuff where they were testing, and it wasn't every controller. That was the crazy part. So they like just passed their hand in front of it and it would just completely disconnect. So I guess they're trying to solve that with this new design. I think that also leans into what we talked about here, I think last week or the week before, where there are some things lining up that looks like Nintendo is going to have a refresh of the Switch, not necessarily like a new Switch, but the next revision. You know how they always have revisions of
like
consoles.
Block B or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So that seems to be something that's coming down the pipe. Michael Pachter. It's a name that I don't hear as often as I did 6 years ago. Or 7 years ago.
I'm Googling it now.
He's
yeah, this guy.
Oh, this fucker. Pac had his own deal on game trailers for a long time. He's an analyst. He's a portfolio manager, basically, that deals heavily in the entertainment side of things with games and games companies for investors. Anyway, he's been known for a long time for his wild predictions. And this might be one of his more wild ones I've heard in a while. Granted, I haven't heard a lot of them in a while because after game trailers went away, nobody gave a shit about Michael Pachter. So he said, I want to get your opinions on this, guys. All right. He's saying Crackdown 3 is going to push Xbox One sales. Thoughts? I can see Jeff smirking. Crackdown 3 selling consoles. Thoughts?
I thought they canceled that game.
That couldn't sell consoles if they threw in one of those epic fucking big ass Xbox controllers as a fucking consolation prize.
I feel like if they got Terry Crews to deliver Crackdown 3 to me with a console, I'd thank him very much. Take the console and be like, no, you can take this one back with you.
It's definitely not his best prediction. I can't even if Crackdown 3 was amazing. So like for Crackdown 3's, you know, the genre, I guess. Nobody, and I say nobody loosely because there's obviously probably a handful of people that are looking forward to Crackdown 3, but the numbers are not particularly great, I'm sure. Nobody is dying to play Crackdown 3 so bad that they're going to run out and buy a console specifically because Crackdown 3 hit the market. That's just not going to happen. I can't even imagine, you know, how many people would be in that segment. This is the first time I've seen Crackdown 3 mentioned on any news website, social media, whispered across, just left anyone's lips in months. Haven't heard a damn thing about Crackdown 3. I'm sure we're going to see it at E3 to some degree because Microsoft has almost zero exclusives in the pipeline. It's like this and then State of Decay 2, and that's, I think, pretty much it. So I'm sure we're going to see it, but I haven't heard anything forever. Nobody's talking about this game, so the odds of it selling anything are pretty much zero.
I wasn't joking when I said I thought they canceled that game. I actually thought they canceled the game.
You're probably not alone. A lot of people probably thought they canceled the game.
It's been so long since we heard anything.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, do they really, like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, I didn't even get energy for just how stupid that sounds. Like, yeah, there'll be people that'll buy Crackdown 3, sure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you got to think about it this way. Xbox One has been out for years. It has been out for years. Most people that have wanted an Xbox already have an Xbox.
This is, we're in year, are we in, when did that come out? Was that 2015, 2014?
I wanted to say it was 2014, but I could be wrong. It might be 2015.
I somewhere in there. Bought one and got rid of it.
It's been 4 years.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
It's been 4 years. The Xbox One has been out. This guy is smoking some really good shit. If he thinks that there is going to be a spike in Xbox One X sales because of Crackdown 3. Because, you know, sure, it might sell well, but those are from people that already own the damn console and got no other exclusive things to play.
They're clamoring.
It's just like, whatever, I'm going to fucking just buy. This isn't what's it called there? The game that's coming out that's going to be kind of like Destiny or whatever.
Anthem.
Anthem. This isn't Anthem. All right. Anthem might actually bump up the sales of an Xbox One X. You know, they might come out with an Anthem styled Xbox collectors things that they do sometimes, depending on how well received the console is. But Crackdown 3, that's like saying Saints Row would sell a whole bunch of Xbox consoles. Sure, it's fun. Sure, it'll sell probably reasonably well. But I can tell you most people, and I think it's pretty objective, most people that don't own an Xbox aren't going to go, you know what? In these economic times, and all these wonderful things that are out there right now with the
I've been
Switch doing so
waiting.
well. I gotta, you know
I've
what?
been waiting.
Rent is barely being paid this month, but I be damned. When I get paid on Thursday, I am rushing out to my fucking closest Walmart or EB Games, and I'm grabbing an Xbox One X with the big hard drive and Crackdown 3. Like, this isn't Red Dead Redemption.
No.
We're talking Crackdown 3. Red Dead Redemption. That will sell consoles.
Yeah.
All right. That will get people that own an Xbox to upgrade to the Xbox One X or whatever thing we're at now.
Yep.
And they'll buy the Red Dead Xbox, and that'll sell Xboxes. Crackdown, they're on crack if they actually think that shit is gonna sell consoles. It's just not. There might be like a handful of consoles that are sold, sure, but that's it. Like, when I say handful, I mean like 5.
Yeah, it's
5.
not going to be much. It's not going to be much. Okay, all right. Predictions. When Crackdown 3 hits, how many copies in the first month does Crackdown 3 sell? Let's make some predictions. Some callbacks can be made later on. How many in a month?
Not many. Not many.
5 many, Panic? 5 many?
I'm gonna say it'll sell 100,000 copies.
Oh! Ah! Holy shit!
You're gonna put Michael
I'll
Pachter out of a
say
job.
That's savagery!
100,000
Holy shit.
copies.
You're gonna put Michael Pachter out of a job, dude.
Well,
Holy shit!
look, even the chat says 100,000. There it
Okay,
is.
in the
Look, even
first
3
month-
other people saying 100K.
In the first,
I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong.
in the
That
first
sounds
month,
reasonable.
I'm gonna give it a $250,000. First month.
What?
You know why? Because and for the
No.
reasons we've already discussed, the only people buying it are people who already own an Xbox, and they have 0 exclusives. And so as long as Crackdown 3 doesn't die at the critics' hands, like as long as it on Metacritic, if it goes north of 8, like an 8.1, it will sell 250 just because there's no fucking games on the Xbox. Not because it's good, not because many of them will even get out of the first 2 hours of gameplay, but I think we'll get a $250,000 if it cracks 8. If it's sub 8, I agree. It's going to struggle to get over 100K.
I'll bump it up. I'll go 125,000
Oh.
tops.
Oh,
Tops.
okay.
Tops.
All right.
That's it. I'm gonna give them a little bit more leeway.
It's just savagery. It's just can you imagine like Crackdown 3 devs sitting there slaving away for years on this fucking game, and they have got the weight of the world on their shoulder. Phil Spencer's in the background cracking whips and shit, be like, bitches, we got no exclusives, don't fuck this up for us fuckers. And they're all just sweating and just coffee injected directly into their veins, just fucking trying to make this happen. And then somebody on some random fuckboy podcast would be like, bitch, they ain't getting past 100K.
Get fucked.
Oh, well, Michael
my God.
Pachter, enjoy whatever it is that you get paid. Too much money, probably. For handling people's investments. If he's making investment decisions based on the fact he thinks Crackdown 3 is going to sell consoles,
Nope.
Godspeed.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of his other analyses. Aside from his video game stuff, he's not that bad. His video game
Well,
stuff.
yeah,
though.
video games. Yeah, I have no idea what his analysis skills are outside of the video game. Not a damn clue.
I just feel like he doesn't understand. Like he understands the market better than the content.
Yes, that's 100% it. Because if you watch like his show on Game Trailers from back in the day, like his head is totally geared for different markets, and then he hits video games, just nothing, just shit in the bed, just a total like out of his wheelhouse altogether. But bless him, because it was always entertaining. He always says like he's like, look guys, oh fuck, whatever. I'm just out here doing my thing, so I can't hate on him. But that's a wild ass prediction, Pack. You need to fucking pack that fun bus up just a little bit, my man. All right, now we get on to the real good shit. And by real good shit, I mean the stuff that makes you want to just delete your social media accounts forever and just go live in the fucking woods with Brock Lesnar.
Before we talk about this, can we talk about like something positive and good, like about how good a game it is, and talk about that
Absolutely.
a little bit before we go down this rabbit hole?
100%. Okay, so we're going to talk about Battletech. Battletech is the turn-based, top-down, good as shit mech warrior game if you needed something that was a little bit more mainstream titled for you than Battletech, because maybe you understand or know the series from the name Mech Warrior instead of Battletech. It is a game that was kickstarted a handful of years ago. It did big, it's come out, and it didn't suck a dick, which is impressive for Kickstarter. In fact, it did better than that. It's actually a really damn good game, and I have people tell me I need to play this every 5.5 minutes. I've had people tell me it's their new crack. You know,
yeah, I would agree with that last one.
It's apparently very, very good, and then it was marred by a bunch of fuckery, but we'll get to that afterwards. Panic, tell me about how good Battletech is, because I know you wanna.
So you remember that old school game Mech Commander that came out like a while ago, Microsoft, the whole RTS like mech control thing?
Yes.
This is like that, but in like XCOM mode, and it's like the first Mech Warrior game in a long time that captures like the whole Mech Warrior universe really well. And I know a lot of people have been like itching for that nostalgia factor from way back when, and for me at least, it hits all of those marks. But from like a tactics and strategy, like if you liked XCOM and you love like the tactics style games, this is going to be like your bread and butter. There's a lot of stuff going on with it. It's really well done, but somehow I don't know how, but they found like that special sauce where you don't go into it and feel like you got XCOM'd, where it's like, 90% chance and you just get fucked on or something.
I believe that special sauce is just not fucking the player over. When it's 90%, it's actually 9 out of 10 times.
I've gotten fucked over by the game, and I've had like terrible moments like, oh god, no. But it's never been like, oh, the game screwed me. It's always been like, yeah, I can see why that happened. I fucked up, type of thing. But it's cool because they have a lot of like the name mechs that we know. They have all the things that you'd want in a mech game. You can customize your pilots, ability, skills, and skill trees and stuff. They're all, you can build your mechs and modify them and add all sorts of different weaponry to them as you'd expect, with like the same mechanics of tonnage, heat, and all of that stuff. But on top of that, you get like a full management game around building up your mercenary company. So you have to hire the pilots. You have to determine which missions you're going to go on. You have to decide, do I want more cash, or do I want to get more salvage from the field? Or, hey, do I want to pick which pieces of salvage I get first? And all of this is like tied together with like figuring out when to upgrade your dropship. And like they don't really force you to do anything, and the only real negative condition is you have to have enough money to pay your bills at the end of the month. As long as you do that, you can keep flying. Like the missions.
But Panic, what if Crackdown 3 is coming out and I don't care about my bills at the end of the month? Does that still matter?
No, because you can go play online with friends. No, it's not. Honestly, for me, the cool thing about it for me is it found the right balance of pacing, stressing me out, and being fun. It's the kind of game, since it's turn-based, and it's not like crazy frenetic action. You can actually like, you can sit down, crack open a beer, and kind of go through a mission or two a night. You can kind of keep coming back to it or taking a break. But you have to like it'll challenge what you think about tactics, and going for you can try for the best run. Or you can try to make sure your mechs don't get like their asses kicked or whatever. There's a lot of trade-offs and stuff that you kind of have to manage, but it's not like in an overwhelming way. But so far, everyone I've talked to, we've been kind of addicted to it. A lot of like Discord people and friends and stuff are just messaging like, "Yo, we got to get in on this." And
yeah,
if you're listening to the podcast and you were on the fence about Battletech, I highly recommend it. Harebrained Schemes did a really good job with it, and it's only like $40 unless you're in Canada.
Not even full price.
Yeah, it's $40.
Holy shit.
And they started releasing the full roadmap for the year. There's gonna be a bunch of free content updates. They're already talking about like the next segment that they're gonna do because apparently like the IP holders for BattleTech are really happy with how the game turned out and like the reception for it.
Good.
So they're like all being like, oh yeah, you can start doing more stuff. We'll license more parts of the universe to you. So they're all excited.
Are there what range of the mechs are available right now? Are there clan mechs involved? Like where?
So the cool thing about BattleTech in general was Harebrained Team has some the company has some people from FASA, like the olden days FASA.
Yeah.
On the dev team. And they like went through a lot of the lore and the entire like literature set and everything, and they're like, there's this section of space that's been defined, but no one really ever talked about what happened there. And it's like mid like Inner Sphere clan where like just before that stuff happened.
Okay.
So they got the license to do, and they kind of fleshed out all of that area for this game.
Oh, cool.
So you're taking part in that, and the nice part is it's somewhat new lore for BattleTech.
Right.
But it gives you like a flex of, it's not, the clan mechs haven't really like, the clan war hasn't really come into play yet, but you know there's still a lot of modern mechs and a lot of the tech is there.
So what you're telling me is I can't play this game and play Nova. That's what you're telling me.
But they before launch they said one of the later modules that's probably going to come out there's probably going to be like a Clan Wars era expansion. But for now they wanted to focus on just something like 25 or 30 mechs in the game. So you know it's a non-trivial amount that's available with like a lot of like classics and stuff.
I guess I can survive.
Yeah.
I guess I can wait.
I'm sure the Nova will be coming probably in the next year or so.
Yeah, I mean, there's like pre-clan Nova variants, but they're just shit. And then the Nova came. It's like the most broken mech. I never knew this until I talked to people years and years and years later. Actually, it wasn't even that long ago. It was like I don't know, a couple years ago, and I think it was Squishy that was telling me just how broken the Nova is as a mech.
I gifted this game to Squishy because I saw it on his wish list.
Oh boy, he's thrilled.
He's been squealing like a schoolgirl for how awesome this game is. Every time I talk to him, he's just like, "Oh my god, this game is amazing."
Oh yeah, he's definitely
a huge
hardcore.
Buff.
Yeah, exactly.
Huge mech buff.
Exactly. He's probably over the moon about that shit right now.
We can talk about your bullshit now.
Yes, all right. Okay, well, now that we got the positive out of the way, Jeff, are you reading this right now? So your face is.
I read this before, and I'm like, oh, come on.
There's some soft violin music happening in the background right now for Jeff. He's just...
Even that article was fucking biased against it.
I mean, it was Patrick Keplik, and bless his soul, he's not a bad writer, but he chooses odd battles, the guy. He was like that when he was at Giant Bomb, and then he branched off and shit just got real as all hell when he moved on from there and started doing some other stuff. So anyway, good guy and a good writer, but he chooses some odd battles. So basically, the idea for those listening at home, if you haven't already caught wind of this, is that BattleTech, when you're creating a pilot, or
first thing that happens in the game
first thing
it even brings up the menu, it's like customize your mercenary company. Create you as a commander is actually a character in the game that can go in mechs. So they're like, this is what you want to look like, and describe your character, set up your backstory. That's before the main menu comes up. And
so you eventually get to the point where you get to choose if you're male or female, or is it they and them selection, or they/them? What is the...
they don't even, it's not even, if I remember correctly, again, I didn't spend too long on it, which is why I found this whole notion
if I don't identify
crazy.
as a male or a female?
They didn't add vegan golf club yet, Jeff. You're gonna have to wait for that.
You have your gender, you have whatever, but then there's like a pronoun section where you can be like he, she, them, or they.
There you go. That's what. Yeah. So
it's like it's in a drop down menu. It's like one of 3 options. And I actually looked at that. And I'm like, when I first saw that, I'm like, you know what? Good for them. You know, it's progress. That's
sure,
progress.
they didn't go out, and this is why I like that it's there. Okay, so they didn't go out ahead of time, this game coming out, and like blow smoke up their own ass about the fact that they had this shit in here. They didn't make it like some sort of political fucking hill to die on, going out to the masses and be like, bitches, we put this in our game. Ha ha! Come pat us on the back. They snuck that shit in there, and it wasn't until
it's just there.
It's just there. And okay, so that's great that it's there. It's awesome. You know, it includes people that feel like they're part of that group. Fantastic. It's not
no
hurting.
impact on gameplay other than select things that
what
come
are we
up.
talking about here?
Zero. The group that wants the pronoun to be they or them versus he or she. So those people are out there.
Maybe it would have been for an alien choice.
Well, you can choose. Can't you? Isn't there like
MechWarrior does not have aliens in it. Bro.
Okay. So I don't know. I was
strictly
going
human thing
going off. So
okay.
Anyway, that's the idea. Just there, and great. We've included another group that's obviously become more prominent here in the last while.
It's just there.
It's just there. And so everything's fine until a whack of people start getting upset about the fact that it's there for just some of the dumbest fucking reasons and making a big shit fest over it because we can't just have anything in 2018, 2017 and moving forward. Anything. Nothing is ever good enough. There's always something to complain about. No matter how you tackle this issue, if they didn't have it in there, somebody would complain. They put it in there, people
I don't think
complain.
somebody would complain if they didn't have it in there.
Well, it just wouldn't get. It just might not get the specific coverage. Somebody, Go ahead.
My response to this whole thing is fuck both groups on either side. You know why?
Sure.
Because the group that came out and said, "Oh, this game should not have they them in it," don't fucking choose it. It's fine that it's there. It has no impact on you. So fuck you if you see a problem with it. It's just there. Let it go.
It doesn't change gameplay. It's literally in the bio section of your character in the game.
If this makes one person feel better about themselves because they can identify with it, awesome.
Great.
Well, who identifies as they or them?
A lot of people right now
who don't necessarily know their gender or are not identifying non-binary, whatever, like all that entire spectrum, like they don't necessarily know. They might, various reasons, and they don't want to be a he or she, so they actually do use they or them. I have a couple of friends who identify that way, and if that's how they want to be identified, I respect that, and I identify them that way. That's fine. My issue with this whole issue was that after the toxic people came out and said, "Why is this even there?" The other side is like, "Oh, this is harebrained schemes doing bullshit things for political points. They didn't go far enough. It's not good enough, And they started going off on it too. And I'm like, what the fuck do you want?
You can't.
You've said nothing here productive. You've just shit on someone for trying to do a good thing, and they did it in.
It's like you did something that was specifically for my group. But you didn't do it good enough, so fuck you. Like, what the fuck?
I'm not even gonna tell you how to make this better. I'm just gonna shit on you.
Like, no value of anything in that comment. Just not even a thank you. Like, oh, you're one of the first games to have ever.
It's about more than choice.
It's about like one of the first games to ever include this shit. Oh, it's happened. Yeah. All right, well, fuck you, because it wasn't done well enough, or it wasn't deep enough, or like whatever the fuck. And you're just what. It's just it's 2018, damn it. Stop. I hate.
Are we actually going to go down that road though, like in video games where it's no longer going to be male and female? They're going to have like another subsection of they or them.
Look, it was going to happen one way or another for sure.
That's fine if that happens. It doesn't impact gameplay. It's how it is nowadays. It's fine.
It does. It doesn't change anything, but it's kind of a stupid concept when you think about it. But I mean, I get it.
I'm gonna disagree with you there because again, like I have a lot of friends who have sat down and they've explained it to me. I don't fully understand it, but that's my own personal ignorance in a way, shape, or form. So I get where you're coming from, Jeff.
You don't understand. You don't. I mean, because it's a mental thing. So I guess that's why you don't understand.
They don't necessarily agree with that, and it's gotten to the point where there is a large enough demographic of people who identify that way.
Do you find it weird that it's and I don't know, maybe you guys can give me your opinion on this. I'm with you too. Like, I mean, hey, you know, if somebody wants to identify as whatever, you know, whatever makes you happy, then by all means do your thing.
Yeah. Like,
I one thing that I don't like all that much is, well, there's two things. Well, there's one thing that I don't like, and then there's another.
Growing.
Yeah. Okay. So there's one thing that I don't like, and then there's another thing that I don't know if you guys will agree with me on this. Okay, so I'm gonna go with the first thing.
Okay.
First thing is this whole identifying thing. I feel like this has become an issue in the last few years.
Well, it has, for sure.
And I almost feel like there's so much force feeding of this stuff that I think people, and not all people, and this may come off ignorant, and that's why I'm getting your guys' opinion, because hey, I want to learn just like the rest of like the rest of people, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like
positive
religion,
learning
right?
experience.
You know, I might not believe in certain things, but I respect people's belief systems, and it is what it is. But I think what is happening, and this is my own personal ignorance, I think that these sort of identifying things, it's being shoved down people's throats so much that it's legitimately confusing people. Where people go, you know what, I do feel weird, and I do relate to this person. Where I find people. I've watched some things and I've read some things on this because I've been curious about it. But I feel like it's being force fed down people's throats so much that I think people are just latching on to be part of something, to be part of a group, to feel connected when they're an outsider, or they just feel different than maybe how they should feel. Now, I just, because this was not an issue. I'm sure it was an issue to people.
I think it's always been an issue.
It's always been an issue,
surface.
and you can make the argument. Well, those people were just suffering in silence, and now they're all screaming out. Like now they've got the courage to do it. I think that is true for some people, but I also believe that it has been force fed, and when you start seeing it in video games, and it's just being put everywhere, that I feel like people are almost mentally tricking themselves into thinking that they're part of this thing. Now that's not like that for everybody. I mean, there's probably people that are listening to this podcast that may be in the same position. It might be like super mad at me right now, and that is not me attacking them at all by any means. But I feel like it's no different than, say, religion, right? If you're born a certain way or you hear something so much, it just becomes ingrained subconsciously. You don't even realize that you're being manipulated, even though it's not in a. I know manipulation is a very negative word, but you don't get what's really happening. And
like
I feel like
a bias.
Yeah, like it just the way the media's been, the way social media's been, all this. Like we're not arguing, but we're debating or talking
I'd
about.
say we're more discussing at this point.
More discussing, but this is a discussion. Yeah. Like, I mean, 3 years ago, this wouldn't even have been a discussion. 10 years ago, this been like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, are you fucking smoking crack? Like, you know what I mean? Now when I speak up, one sec. Now if I speak up and somebody gets offended, it's almost like they force it. Like I should feel bad about the way that I think, and that's not. Listen, I'm trying to understand. But I gotta ask questions. You know what I mean? I gotta ask questions.
Help me understand.
I'm not the bad guy here. I'm just speaking out where some people won't speak up because they're gonna go, oh man, if I go down this road, whoo, I'm gonna be put on the stake. I'm gonna be on Reddit. I'm gonna be fucking. There's gonna be tweets out about me. You don't put this shit in a video game. Fuck you, or you got some sort of hidden agenda. It's like, goddamn. It's like, dude. Most people don't give a fuck what you think you are, but just relax a little bit here.
The big issue is not the it's not even specific to this issue on gender, how you identify. It's become a thing in like so many different areas now, and I joke about this, but my mom actually said this a really good way the other day. She's like, it's really not about what you're saying, it's how you're saying it to someone. And a lot of the discourse, especially around this topic, and also like around whole culture appropriation, all privilege, all these like social justice topics, and I don't mean social justice in like a negative connotation. It's just the best way to describe it here. It's become like this us versus them mentality where it's being like, if you're not attacking, you're not on my team. And it becomes like overly hostile extremely quickly. And like it's just like everyone's like kind of like frothing at the mouth, like on like getting ready to like break the chains and like attack for whatever reason, instead of being like, look, you know, especially for the whole gender thing. I don't necessarily understand the whole thing that's going on. I've had some friends who've like been like, oh, you know, I prefer to identify under this pronoun. And I'd be like, look, I'm not trying to be ignorant, but can you like explain like just what's going on, just so I understand where you're coming from a little bit more? You know, I haven't been exposed to this as much. So, and you know, 9 times out of 10, they've been like, oh, you don't think so? I'm like, look, I don't know. It seems a little odd to me, but at the same time, I don't mean that in a bad way. Can you just explain it to me? And they'll sit down and they'll explain it to me. I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. And, you know, I make a mental note, you know, this is how they want to be identified. And, you know, it's a productive discussion.
But a lot of them, they
other times they get super defensive or militant. And you're like, oh my God.
Well, yeah, it's almost like, it's like the CrossFitting or vegan thing where it's like, hey, you know what? This is who I am. Deal with it, motherfucker. And if you don't want to deal with it, bitch, because they get sassy, you don't want to deal with it, bitch, then you're bad. Like you're
a terrible person.
It's like, listen, man, if I've known you as a dude for 15, 20 years and you've got a dick and you grow a mustache and I'm in pictures with you and you're a dude, and then one day you come to me and say, listen, I identify as a woman now. Then you know, it's, you can't expect somebody, you know, I guess there are people out there, and for me, I'm a pretty reasonable guy. Like, I don't, like, you know, at least won't say it to your face. Like, I might at least you know what, yeah, you know, I get that. Like, you know, are you talking to somebody? You figure, I'd be concerned, and then when they are gone, I'd be like, what the fuck, you know? Okay, all right, this is a lot. But, you know, you want to like somebody as a person and not, and you want it, but we also got to process this shit. It's like when somebody drops some crazy news on you, you know, it's like a family member passes away or something, and you're in this state of shock, and you're like, whoa, okay. You know, it's like some people just think that we should just get it. And so that's why I think a lot of these wars are happening with these things in video games and other parts, is because you got one side that's going, listen, finally give us some representation, or like what Adam was saying, you're not representing us the correct way. And so it's like, man, they're trying here, like, holy shit.
Have a conversation with them. Don't attack them. Be like, yeah, hey, like, look, we understand what you're trying to do, but you might want to try implementing it maybe this way. You know, send an email, have a discussion with them, instead of being like, fuck you. You
Unless
guys are just trying to cash in.
Unless they got somebody on the team that doesn't identify as a male or a female, or as a they or the other pronoun or whatever. And so maybe that if they're in that community and they understand, then maybe that would be some real representation. But you know,
we don't know the full situation.
We don't know the full story. The company might have done this. They might even have done. Did they come out and say like, "Hey, we're doing it"?
They didn't say anything. It's just part of the game. It's just there.
Yeah, they might not even have been thinking about, you know, people that don't identify as a male or female. It might have just been like, "Hey, if you want to be, I don't know, whatever." First thing I thought was an alien, right?
No. The whole universe is like entirely human and stuff, and literally all the characters are humans. It's just like, as your pronoun, do you use he, she, or them? Yeah, that's it. It's literally just one drop down in the entire context of the thing.
I honestly think that it, and once again, it's gonna sound bad, but I honestly think the shit should stay out of video games. Not because I think that it's a bad thing. I just think, once again, this is my ignorant opinion. I think that when we start adding this into every context or in everything that we do, people are gonna get confused. I really truly believe that, and I think that, sure, this is a conversation that needs to happen, and people need representation. But I also don't think that it should be, if that was their goal. Listen, I'm not going to hate on them for doing it. You know, kudos to them for thinking. If that's what they were really doing and they really want to give a nod, it's just like, you know what? Sure. I'm not going to sit there and complain. I'll see they and I'll say, no, I'm going to be a guy, and that'll be the show. But when it comes to these sort of things, and people are getting mad on both sides, I say just leave it the hell out of video games, all right? Are you a guy or are you a girl? Does that upset you that there is no thing that identifies you that of the current state that you're in? Because most people, when they don't know they identify, they go see a psychiatrist, they go and do these sort of things. Next thing you know it, they're a dude again, or they're a girl again, or they go. It's like it's the flavor of the month. And so what? So, and I'm not saying everybody's like that. I'm painting a big brush here. Okay, I understand that. But I think it should just stay the hell out of video games. It's like if you start making movies, can you imagine like the Avengers? And you know what? One of the Avengers, throughout the whole movie, one of the Avengers, you can't call the guy a guy, right? Because he or she identifies as a woman. Can you imagine the backlash of it's just like the unnecessary catering to a group that, listen, I'm not saying they don't deserve to be catered to, but there's just I should say there's no place for it either, because then it makes me sound bad, but it's not what's asked. It's not, when you throw in a wrench like that, that's why you're getting people on the other side going, the fuck are you doing? What, like, why are we doing this right now? I think that's the mentality of it. You know, we're just starting to get in movies now. We're just starting to get into it where there's main characters that are gay, right? You know, like fucking Harry Potter and Dumbledore or something. He's like a gay character or some shit. People are like, what the fuck, you know? But then they just kind of let it slide. Now we started calling them there or they or something. Holy sweet hell, man! That's just gonna, you know, it's just, I just feel like they're throwing a wrench in a toolbox for the sake of throwing a wrench into a toolbox, and it's not needed. But I get it. And I'm not a hater. I just get it.
Where do you weigh in on this, Adam?
I mean, this is a fucking dense ass topic, right? Like this is some Shrek, I've got many layers like an onion type shit. Right? This is just, you could go on about, I could talk about this in circles for like 5 fucking hours. It's just endless. But it's, you know, for the game, so I'll address the game part of it first. So for me personally, I don't give a fuck if it's in the game. I don't care if more games add it. I don't care if less games have it. I don't really fucking care. Because it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect the game. It's not going to change my life. It's not going to change my view of the game. Nothing's really going to, you know, that's whatever. You do you, boo-boo. You know, you want to fucking do it. My concern is, if there was a concern to be had, it's that right now, that is a group that is looking to be more represented, is those who want the pronouns, those specific pronouns. The problem is that there are more than just those pronouns. There is like this never-ending list of pronouns being created. What I feel like is almost, you know, every week we've got a new group of people that want to be under a different set of pronouns, and that, you know, then it becomes, well, where do we stop? Like, what do we just keep adding to the list of pronouns ad nauseum to be you know, which affects more of like daily interaction. Once it crosses over into mainstream media, it can be adopted faster. But then the question becomes, for the people creating the mainstream media, is which do we take on? And when is it okay to add it, and when isn't it? Because maybe in a year or two's time, the pronouns that were used or as subsets now are suddenly no longer kosher.
Yeah,
you know, it's like words and their meanings, because they get used in society, change over time. It's like the word retard. There are ads on Canadian television right now where there's like a push to get people to not use it as a negative, you know, reaction to something. It's like calling something gay, and it's something that if you grew up with and you never meant anything, you know, the intent was never that. The fact of the matter is, you are comparing something to what you know is, at the end of the day, somebody who has developmental issues, And that's why the thing is bad, because it's being compared to somebody with developmental issues, right? So those words and how society uses them changes over time, but there are things that nobody has ever particularly gotten angry about, I guess which almost counteracts the whole discussion in the first place. But that's, are you a male or a female? More recently now, yes, now people do get upset if you call them a male or female, but you know what I mean. There are some words that they can get around that whole thing. But when it comes to the actual the concept, the discussion of this whole gender identity and identity politics and whatnot, is that I think kind of like the Me Too movement, there is a section of some legitimacy, some reality to the situation, where there are people that really do feel out of place, out of body, out of mind, and they're not necessarily mentally ill. They don't necessarily have anything wrong with them in kind of like some sort of hormonal imbalance fuckery type way. They just, honest to God, feel like they are something that they aren't physically being, displaying at the time. And for those people, I feel kind of bad, because just like in the Me Too movement, where there have been lots of people hopping on the fun bus, the hype train, to get recognition and get some and to get some feel good likes on social media, and some shine in the outside world, is that now there are people that are doing the same thing with this identity politics and this gender, I guess, genderism or some such, where and that's why you're seeing this expanding list of shit. Like, it wasn't even that long ago and the other thing is, it gets combined with the LGBTQ community, right? Which has now become like LGBTQ 2A+, I think is where we're at now, or something. The chat will probably be able to give me a better idea. Yeah, I guess he's in there now. I mean, he's everywhere. But yeah, I feel like while those aren't necessarily the same discussion, they do tend to be talked about in parallel, and they're expanding in a similar way. And I think that it has a lot to do with, and Jeff talked a little bit about this, where there are people want to, and we've talked about this in the past too with other topics, but people want to be part of a group. They want to feel like they belong properly to a group. There are loads of people who would have grown up and throughout school and social interactions have found themselves in situations where they feel like they never slotted into any particular group. Mm-hmm. And with the advent of the internet, making the world an infinitely smaller place, it's allowed people to kind of come together who have those kind of thoughts and develop these communities. I think that this is exacerbated a bit by the fact that what Panic touched on a bit, and I've talked about in the past as well when we talked about identity politics, is that people want to be combative. They want to be in a camp and they want to be against somebody else and they want to win. They
makes them feel more active, like they've done something.
They need to feel like they need to feel like they're accomplishing something, or they need to feel like they're objectively right.
The cause.
Yeah, like there's like they need to feel like they're objectively right about something that's seemingly important to them, and they're so adamant about it that they'll reject all reality along the way. They just don't care. They'll completely sweep it under the rug. They don't care. They'll just keep going, and they get ironically they tend to become the more aggressive of the two camps when they're saying the other camp is like the one that's kicking them when they're down. They end up being the one that's just as or far more aggressive in some cases, and so I think there's a lot of that in there, but I think a lot of it is certainly people wanting to feel like they're part of a group, wanting to feel like they're accomplishing something and winning something, and there's a very serious, I don't even know if you can call it an undertone anymore, but it's there regardless, and it's getting bigger and bigger, of people wanting to label themselves something so that that puts them in a position of being able to state on a societal level that they are being oppressed, so that it can explain away why they aren't successful at some or many segments of their own life. So if they can slot themselves into I'm the black Jewish quadriplegic gender fluid Apache helicopter, they put them
bad situation.
Put themselves in as many boxes as humanly possible that are like the worst boxes. It's just Satan's box. And then they push that box out in the open and go, look, this is why I can't work at McDonald's. Fuck. Like that's what they're doing. And
the human need to classify.
It gives them an out.
Yeah.
And this isn't everyone, but there are people that have bandwagoned on all sorts of movements over the years to explain away, in either in part or in its entirety, as to why they aren't personally successful in life or in some subsection of their life. Not necessarily saying they're like, oh, I'm homeless because this is it or whatever, but you know what I mean. So that's. I think all of them are kind of pieces to the puzzle, but this shit is fucking deep. This is Mandingo deep. This is hipster V-neck in a Starbucks on a fucking Tuesday afternoon deep. This shit is rough.
The way that I look at it, and I think a lot of people look at it, and it once again, it come off ignorant. I think most people just don't really give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like I think like most people, if I saw somebody walking down the street, or I'm at a bar and I'm hanging out and I introduce myself to somebody and I'm like, hey, I'm Jeff. And they're like, hey, I'm, Chris, but I identify as a woman. I actually just don't care. Like, I'm just, oh, okay, well, nice to meet you. And off with I'm not going to sit there and question them or start a confrontation or anything like that. I think most people just don't give a fuck. And simply because most people don't care, they just don't want to see this representation in their platforms that they just on something that they just don't care. It's like, why don't you have, gay and straight in a video game? Just because you're a male doesn't mean you are straight. Most characters are usually straight. And if they are gay, it's very well known. Usually that's the case. Because how else are you going to know? It's sort of the same thing, even with Tracer, right? When Tracer came out as gay, everyone's like, oh, you know what I mean? So I just think people, and I'm in this group too, where I'm just like, listen, if you identify as whatever you identify, if you identify as a dog, listen, I don't give a fuck. If you're happy and that shit makes you happy and you're not preaching that down my throat and you're not out there hurting anybody or you're whatever, hey, by all means, you do you, because I ain't got no time to waste worrying about what you're doing, especially your sexual orientation, the way you identify. I don't give a fuck. I mean, you could be, if you're a dude and you're
not even in a negative way, you don't care.
I don't. Yeah, and it doesn't.
It
and I'm
has
not
no
saying
impact
that.
on you.
I'm not saying that in a hateful way. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, you
no
should be
impact
ashamed.
On you.
I actually just don't care. I mean, I actually don't care.
There's no impact.
Where we're starting, and I'm kind of in the boat where Adam is too, where it's like, if I saw that in a video game, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm just like, you know what? No, I'm a dude, or I'm a guy. I'm gonna pick male, and that's the show.
Cool.
Right?
And then you move on and forget about it.
I might have a chuckle and go, "Oh my god, they actually put that shit in the game." That's probably what I would say, and then I just move on with my day, right? And then you'll have somebody like, "Hey, what do you mean? Just oh my god, they put that in the game." Don't you? And it's like, okay, whoa. I mean, that is a very thoughtful and very courageous thing that they did, and congratulations for your representation. I actually just don't care. But I also, if I step aside and I look at people that do care, I also get their point of view, and I don't get mad at them for being mad that that isn't a game. What I actually kind of annoyed at is that there are people that are in that group that would complain that the representation wasn't represented the way that they think it should be represented.
No, it's okay that they complain. It's that they're complaining so combatively and hostilely.
Yeah,
it's not like hey, it's not like a hey, look, this is like it's kind of not done correctly, or our opinion is this, this could be a better way to do it.
I'd be
it's
like,
no, fuck you for doing this.
Your opinion changes every week. You're gonna add 3 more letters and 4 more numbers to your slogan here soon enough. It's like they're coming up with shit as time goes on. It's like there's a group of people on a Facebook group, and they're going, you know what, I'm going to throw in this pronoun here. And if they don't fucking add that shit on there and they don't get it right off the bat, well, fuck them. They're going to hear from us via social media, motherfuckers. That's what's going down. And it's just like, listen, I'm just tired, man. I can't keep up. Like, well, I can't keep up with you.
This whole, I mean, it's all very just indicative of where the internet is at right now, and where the society, especially, I guess we'll confine this to the Western world for the majority of it, right? So we'll do Canada, States, and sections of Europe. This is what we'll go with, or for the sake of this podcast, we can maybe, because I don't want to speak for across the pond too much, but we here in Canada and the States, we mirror pretty close anyway. So, it's
that guy who like started going on the tirade about the vegan woman buying the ice cream cone for the kid.
Well, that was, I mean, yeah, we can talk about that one. That one was pretty good. Did you see that one, Jim?
I did.
Okay, so that was So it's
the prom dress. That's this week, boys.
It's difficult because some people are going to be trolls about it, but the thing that I've started to just kind of have to internalize and accept is that while there are loads of trolls on the internet, is that when you go out and you see these rallies that are happening and these people physically going to this
it's real.
It's like when Jeff, you might have had this as a streamer, right, where there's somebody in chat and you're having a discussion with them and they're being particularly ridiculous, and somebody says don't feed the trolls, and I want to smack the person that says don't feed the trolls more than the person that's being an idiot, because at some point everyone just, or not everyone, but a lot of people just started assuming that everyone that's being an idiot is a troll.
It's not it.
But that's not it. They're just being an idiot, right? Or they're just being obtuse to be, because they just disagree with you. But the thing about the vegan ice cream thing, but the dress was particularly outlines, I think this discussion to a degree, or the further expansion of it.
The dress outlines more of it than the vegan ice cream.
Yes, and this is why.
Really?
Yeah, this is why. So, for those who don't know the story, there was a girl in the States going to prom who saw the Chinese traditional dress called a kipao, and it's the dress that you've seen probably loads of Chinese women wear in movies and ceremonial stuff and whatever. You would know it if you saw it. You could look it up. It's Qipao, if I'm not mistaken. How to spell that? You'll know the dress when you see it. And she saw it and she was like, "Wow, that's a gorgeous dress. It's a beautiful dress. I really like it. I'd like to wear this to prom. I like it enough that I want to wear this to prom." Okay, so she does, and of course, like every other teenager going to prom, she's posting shit on social media. About, hey, I'm at prom, look at me in my dress, I'm looking good, I'm feeling good, I'm out of high school, fuck school for at least the next, 9 months, and then I gotta go to university or whatever, but fucking, so, doing her thing. And then, somebody, from the, of the American Chinese community is what I would suggest would be the best way of putting it, picks this up, sees it, and has, I don't know, an aneurysm or some shit. I don't know what the fuck happened. Just stroked out when he saw it, because he's like, "Oh my God."
No, it was more like, "Oh my God."
No, I think he was too American for that. He wasn't. He's not.
Okay.
No, he's
So it is.
He's
Oh my God.
He is an American Chinese. Yeah,
Fair
he's
enough,
not.
fair enough.
This guy ain't sitting in mainland China reading this shit and then going off
he
on a
was like,
tirade.
what the fuck?
Yeah,
That's
he
what
said, "What the fuck?" Yeah, exactly. So he goes on this paragraph, multiple threaded thing about how it's cultural appropriation and how it's bullshit that she's doing it and how offensive it is that how dare you wear this dress? You don't know what it was for. You're not Chinese. You're not this. You're not that. You don't know what the fuck. And just this big thing. And then of course, the internet. So this goes everywhere. And there are people siding with him and being against him, and it's all over the map. But as a human being, when I looked and I saw that, and I was like, I'm going to click on this thread, and in my mind, I want to believe that the majority of people are going to be telling this guy is a fuck boy, because that's what he is. He's a fuck boy, and we'll get to the reasons why he's a fuck boy here in a moment. But the shocking reality was way too many fucking people were siding with this guy, and it hurt me because, of all the things, and again, I've got more to say about, but of all the things that you could spend energy on in the run of a fucking day, and all of the ways in which you could choose to be personally offended by all the things that could be happening in the world around you right now, people being aggressively against the Chinese nationality or the race, and then the one thing that you're gonna pick up as your fucking hill to die on is an 18, 17-year-old girl that thinks that the Kipao dress is a beautiful fucking piece of work, who wants to wear it to prom because she thinks it's so gorgeous. That is the fucking thing that you choose to die on?
Yeah. You want to know what I thought? You want to know what I thought? I'm like, and I don't know, like, I feel like to me this makes sense. But I feel like I'd also get murdered for kind of trying to say it this way. But it's like, isn't it a fucking good thing that, people in America and stuff are actually like integrating and taking, not taking, they're like using these things that are culturally diverse.
I got you,
in standard things now.
That's
like,
common sense.
I got you.
Yeah, they're like,
you would think
instead of everyone assimilating, the shirt, the tie, standard American clothing, now we're incorporating and integrating more properly rather than just like being the Borg and assimilating. We're integrating these other cultures in other acceptable ways.
I've got
like,
you.
The Kipao as a prom dress, good, I would think.
And let me tell you why. Okay? Here's why. Because she only did it because she thought it looked good. So that's not good enough. So when you go in and you read, and somebody asked this guy, okay, well, what if she had,
why the fuck are you wearing that baseball cap?
I'm not. We're getting there. That was in my tweet. I fucking roasted. I roasted that guy fucking hard. Okay, so this guy gets asked. So what if she had, went and talked to some of the Chinese American community and learned about the dress and asked if they thought it was going to be okay for her, asked their permission to wear the dress, as if they would give a fuck, but just asked their permission. And he said, yeah, you know what, that would be a good step. A good step would be if she learned about the cultural significance of it and she really looked into it and maybe learned a little bit about the historical aspects and asked and interviewed some people and shit. And I was like, all right, so let me get this straight. You got to, before you can wear this shit, you've got to like basically go through like a Microsoft application process for a job. You could do some like 5 interviews. Then you've got to maybe have a bachelor's degree in history, majoring in Chinese culture. And then once you've done that, you have to probably just fly over there and live there for somewhere between 5 to 10 years for the experience. Really learn the language. Eat and drink with them and really grow to love it, and fuck English. Just forget the English language altogether. Become one with China. Then come back. Then you can worry about wearing that dress. I just need to put all these benchmarks for you that are just complete bullshit before you can actually go out of your way to do that.
Go in here. I just looked up this chick. Are you talking about the red dress?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That shit is looking fire on her, by the
way. I love those dresses.
I'm just gonna go and say this right now. That shit looks.
It's a gorgeous dress.
Fire.
It's a gorgeous dress.
She is thick.
Yes.
With 2 C's. Hopefully she's 18, but god God damn, that is thick.
Jeff, you're skirting
Yo,
the line there, Jeff.
I'm buying my wife one of these motherfuckers, and I'm having Oriental nights. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it's gonna be fucking delicious. I'm bringing up chopsticks and everything. I don't give a fuck.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going.
So
I'm
that's
going
cultural
God.
appropriation there. I'm going to say that.
Contextually, you look through it, and there's all these people talking about all these ways in which she needed to go about it before she was allowed to wear this dress, if at all. And then the second layer to this was then there would be people of the white persuasion saying, hey, this isn't really cultural appropriation. She just really liked the dress or whatever, or people were saying, I don't really see what the big deal is here. This is maybe getting a little hyped up for no reason.
On the offensiveness scale.
Yeah, it's just really not something to be worked up about. And so here was the flow chart for how the responses to this would go. It would start with, okay, step 1, you're not a POC. Okay, you're not a person of color.
I got shouted down when I weighed in on this.
Okay, so you're not a POC, so your opinion is invalid. Then it would be the next step. You go a step further. Then a person of color would weigh in on it, and then the response to that was, okay, well, you're not Asian, so your opinion doesn't matter. Then you would get an Asian person responding, and the answer to that would be, well, you're not Chinese, so your opinion doesn't matter. And like the post would get moved and moved again and moved again and moved again. And I swear to God, then there was like an article or something written where this was shown around various places in China, and the vast majority of people were like, go nuts! Who cares? Hookers are wearing those fucking dresses now. Nobody, like, the cultural significance means very little in the grand scheme of things. We're just happy somebody thought that our traditional dress looks so good that they would wear it to what in North American culture is one of the biggest coming of age events to have. That's a good thing. That's not a negative thing.
That shit is banging. I have been staring at that thick.
Easy there. Don't be put on a list.
Yo. Well, is she 18?
I have no idea. I would probably not do it just in case.
You know what? I don't care. She's gorgeous. All right. It looks amazing in that dress. I don't give a fuck. If you're 18, 17, that shit is banging. I don't give a fuck.
It's a good dress.
That guy is salty as shit.
So
she's rocking that shit more than his great grandmother because she's banging that dress. How do I get one of these on eBay? I'm getting one. I'm picking the wife up one.
Go for
and I'm getting in 3 different colors.
3 different colors.
Red and black is fire.
Yes,
I might have to get some blue and yellow. I think that'll look.
They've always been very, very popular for a reason. They're a beautiful dress. So the thing that really made this all kind of come together was that here's this guy, his profile picture. Some Asian American dude wearing a baseball cap. All right, so step 1, he's already fucked up because he's basically doing the same shit.
Stop stealing my culture, man.
Then step 2, the motherfucker gets quoted with multiple tweets where he's just saying nigga, 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 nigga. So if on the scale of cultural appropriation, baseball caps and saying nigga is lower than some girl going to prom in a dress, then you done fucking have the worst priorities in the world. Fuck, just I'd be very curious if he even knows how to speak Mandarin or Cantonese. Because there are a lot of second generation Asian Americans and Asian Canadians that have no idea how to speak their native tongue because it just didn't happen.
I have actually a funny story about that. I have a lot of Asian American friends. I also have a very special white friend who is a ginger redhead guy. We go to a restaurant. Little known to many people, he spent 10 to 15 years of his life in China because his dad was a teacher in China. He speaks fluent Cantonese and fluent Mandarin. My Asian friends have no idea how to speak either of those.
Yeah.
they go into the restaurant, the waiters are like talking to my friends, being like talking in full Chinese, and like, we don't understand you. Whenever my friend goes to like say something in Cantonese, you know, to talk with them, they kind of just look at him confused and then start talking to the other people around, like, just completely ignoring the fact that he is speaking fully fluent Chinese to them. And
Yeah,
like,
it's
okay.
It's I mean, and I can't blame them, right? I mean, there's like unless you have a lot of your family in America with you and you have the opportunity to continue speaking it, it's hard to learn. It's kind of hard to learn. So like, I don't blame them, but I just found it so funny that here's this dude in a baseball cap being an idiot.
For me, like, speaking my native, Bengali language is difficult for me. It was my first language. It was my first language. I did not speak English until I was like 3 or 4 years old. But it, like, nowadays it's actually a lot harder for me to speak it, even though I speak it with my parents and stuff. Like, that shit's hard to maintain.
This guy's an idiot. All right, let's just
that just highlights all of that conversation happened just to highlight the fact that that's where we're at right now. So, and it's not just a small subsection of people. There are a lot of what I'm going to unabashedly say fucking idiots.
They're fuck boys.
Fucking idiots.
Okay, that too.
Just because I don't want to put fuck boy because it's not gender neutral enough. Fuck thems, fuck theys, fuck boys, fuck girls. They're all just idiots. Idiots is a nice gender neutral. You can wake up whatever you feel like, and you can just be an idiot. You can be a fucking idiot, and that's what a lot of these people are. I appreciate, that they're looking to really be part of some shit. But there's just an unimaginable amount of hypocrisy and bullshit involved, and it makes it difficult to wade through all that bullshit to find the actual reality, the actual people involved in these issues, and prop them up and not have them become lumped in with all the fuckery on the side. It's sad because The gay community is still going through it. The black community is still going through it. You get all this stuff, but there's all these idiots. And it's very hard because when you put up a story now of like some real honest to goodness shit, people don't even want to look at it. They're like, what the fuck? More of this shit? Get that shit off my feed. I don't want to see it.
You want to know what needs to happen for this whole thing to get better in time? And I'm going to say
nuclear war?
Well, yeah, that too. No, it's just people need to relax and realize it's okay to talk and converse and discuss and inform. Because, and I see this now too, even as a brown guy who gets subject to racism on a regular basis, I see the way people use words and concepts and stuff coming out of these things to shut down any dissenting opinion. And
yeah,
a lot of the times it's messed up because I'll see a white friend of mine make a really good point, and they'll completely shit on it just because it's white and the person's white, it's invalid, they don't have context. I'm like, look, read the content, don't judge the person.
I have a perfect fucking
and
segue
it's like
from that.
That stuff needs to stop.
I've got a perfect segue from that. Kanye West.
Oh, fuck that guy.
Kanye West doing his Kanye best this week. Because
by choice.
So if you haven't seen this shit, just search up Kanye West TMZ and just have a field day. Just go ahead, enjoy yourself. Watch somebody sink into
look up Kanye West.
But before I let Jeff go nuts on this, I wanted to segue from Panic is that in this video at the end, a TMZ employee who happens to be black, just literally undresses. Kanye is standing naked in the TMZ office by the time he has done his fucking speech. And it was so bang on. He didn't stutter. Like, this motherfucker almost seemed like he wrote that shit and fucking memorized it for the day that Kanye walked his fat ass into TMZ's headquarters and spewed some...
Don't call him fat. He had to get lipo.
Yeah, because I called him fat, so he had to.
Before
that
you
was the
say
choice.
that, I gotta shout out this guy in chat, Skillmama, with the ultimate finisher to your quote.
What?
Kanye West doing his Kanye best, but needs his Kanye rest.
He needs rest for sure in a mental asylum. Yeah, I mean, so to Panic's point about the white friend having a salient discussion point and then completely being disregarded because the dude just so happens to be pale. If what happened at the end of this TMZ video and this guy Vans is his name, whatever. Vans. So he stands up and just fucking spits hot truth towards Kanye to the point where Kanye's going to walk over to him and just try to absorb some of his energy.
So they actually just released today. They released the full 20-minute thing of that.
So we get to see what happens
Can you
after.
link that to me?
Yeah, so you get to see what happens
Can
after.
you link that to me? I want to see that.
So if that had come from any individual in that room, that it doesn't even have to be black, it doesn't even have to be white. Anyone that wasn't black, I bet you Kanye would have kept going on some bullshit fuckery
exploded
on magnitudes that would have been well beyond what would have likely happened with it coming out of this guy's mouth.
All right, so I'm gonna just. So I've been kind of obsessed with Kanye over the last 3 or 4 days. All right, because I'm trying to get into the mind of Kanye, and I'm realizing that I don't think nobody should try
that.
Yeah, nobody should try because it's like you just might blow up. Like you just might blow up.
It's bad.
But so there's two things. Yeah. Okay. So for those that don't know, first off, I'm gonna put this in chat here. Adam, I also put a link in there. You should bookmark that and you should watch it. It's long. It's an hour and 45 minutes, but it is an hour and 45.
But it's number 2 on trending, bro.
Oh yeah, dude, this thing is actually pretty fire. So
I have to watch that in Cobra Kai tonight.
Yeah, it's Kanye doing a full blown interview, talking about Trump, talking about drugs, talking about blacks, talking about Obama, talking about everything.
Does he talk about why he's biting Justin Timberlake's hairstyle from the 90s?
No, he doesn't talk about that.
All right, okay.
Talks a lot about fashion, talks a lot about real estate, talks a lot about everything. All right. So first off, I just want to go and say Kanye West is this is probably going to shock. This is probably going to shock a lot of people.
At this point, I don't think anything's going to shock me.
Kanye West is not a stupid person.
Okay. Right? I don't disagree with you.
Kanye is actually pretty intelligent. The problem with Kanye is he has a hard time articulating his thoughts, and mainly because he is so free thinking and he lives by that so much that he doesn't even think about what he is trying to say before he says it. You know, it's like the Patterson guy, right?
Dude, he doesn't take into account other contexts.
Kanye West is almost certainly on the spectrum. I'm just going to let you
know that
right now.
He doesn't take into account anyone else's context when he speaks. So what comes into his mind is what comes out.
Yeah.
So like, and when you watch this hour and 45-minute interview, and I would watch the whole thing because I actually watched the whole thing. It was quite enjoyable on a couple of fronts because there's still some crazy in there for sure. But it's and he doesn't even call it crazy. He calls it like I don't know. He says he doesn't have a breakdown. He had breakthroughs and shit. Like the way he says shit, I get it. I get where the space that he's in. He's definitely egotistical. He's beyond. But there is some genius to him. There really is. The problem with the TMZ thing is for those that don't know, he basically said 400 years of slavery, blacks, Jewish with the Holocaust. If you're doing this for 400 years, it sounds like it was your choice. Basically said slavery was a choice.
You could have stopped it if you did something type of mentality.
Exactly. But you know what? The thing is I don't think that's what he actually meant. I think what he actually meant was not, hey, at any time, these blacks could have gotten together and overthrew, what little white people there was around, right? Because obviously the black to white ratio on these plantations and stuff are just, I mean, every movie that you watch or documentary or write anything that you read, there's usually a lot of black people and a family, pretty much. Like there can be like 20 black people on a plantation or more, and have a family of 5, right? And this family's got to sleep. This family is getting black people to do a lot of stuff for them, getting them to shave, getting them to prepare meals, getting them to do a lot of stuff, do gardening. There are times where the guard is completely left down. There are reasons why, and won't get into it because it'd be a super long podcast. But I don't think Kanye at any point really meant that, hey, it was their choice. At any time they could have just gotten up and did their thing and broke free, right? I think what he meant was that they were mentally slaved, as in it's hard because when in this long ass video, he actually kind of gets into it a little bit, but not as direct as, say, the TMZ thing. And I think when he was on his rant on the TMZ thing, it just kind of came out. You know what I mean? It's not like it was a subject that got brought up. Kanye was on a he calls it a flow. He was on a stream. He was on a stream of he calls it a stream and a flow.
The train of thought was on the track.
Train of thought.
It's called a stream of consciousness. Where you just
stream of conscious,
where everything just comes out as it comes into your mind, and you don't give any fucking.
There was no thought into it, right?
Yeah.
There was no thought, and of course, when I heard it at first, I was like, oh no, Kanye, no, don't say that, Kanye. You can't say that. But then when I really watched the rest of the video that came out on TMZ, because TMZ is going to cut shit up to make headlines, right? It's TMZ. They didn't show the whole, like, they showed Kanye walking towards Vans and he actually like gives him a hug and talks about and actually start having more of a conversation, which you should watch that video too. The Kanye thing though is he's trying to make it so that because black people feel oppressed and they feel, I'm being very general, but I mean, he's talking a lot about Chicago, and he's talking about like black people just being slaves to what happened in the past. It's like we can't let that go. It's like, he's trying to bring out this, and I get what he's saying.
But is he really saying that though? Because there's no way that you can pick that apart.
In the context of what he said as a whole thing, there are inklings of that, because he talked about in part of some of this what he was saying. He's like, look, you can't keep looking back at the past. You can't keep looking back to the leaders of the past because they're not necessarily relatable now. There's elements of him trying to say we need to look forward. You can't be constantly saying this happened to us, this happened to us. Yes, but at the same time he phrased it very poorly.
Yeah.
So I can see inklings of him having tried to say that, but it just came out horribly.
And when you watch that interview too, you'll really get it, because then you'll go. Because I watched the TMZ thing, and then the next day this came out, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. I thought it was going to be like a fucking hour, 45-minute rant of Kanye just going and just saying all kinds of crazy shit. And they even go through a lot of the tweets he says. Like he asked them about tweets, like what does this mean? Why did you tweet this out? And he goes into detail, and then you go, a tweet that looks retarded, you're going, oh, sorry about using the word retarded. A tweet that actually you look at and you go, what the fuck, Kanye? And on this little tiny, 140 characters or whatever, and then you listen to him go into it. You go, oh, okay, I get it now. I get it, and it's. I just find he's very poor at communicating his thoughts when they come right at him. Like when it's just like, boom, he has like this breakthrough where he has this like.
You need a think break to pause.
Exactly. Like he has this moment of like a great idea and a great concept. And then he just throws, it's like he's so excited to get it out there. It's like you can tell, and you can see it. You can see it in him. Like there was I was watching a thing on Kevin Hart and another big black T.I. They were also talking about Kanye, because everybody's talking about Kanye right now. And people were like, dude, I'll sit on the phone with Kanye and Kanye will talk for hours. And they'll go, I don't even know exactly what we're talking about. And Kanye will be like, yo, just let me, I'm on to something here. Just let me talk this out. Let me talk. And he'll talk and he'll talk. And then he'll have this breakthrough. Like he'll think of this concept, this genius, he calls it, right? Because he is very narcissistic as well, where it's like this coming of it's almost like you know, these born again Christians, you know, when they like their life is in peril and they just let go and let God, and then something happens in their life and now they're just saying that it's because of God. It's like, you know, could it have been coincidence? Could it have been that you stopped taking complete ownership of everything and putting that weight on you, and now that the weight isn't on you, the thought of a higher power makes it easier to bear, right? Because that's ultimately, in my opinion, what really happens. But they go, they're a believer now. There's nothing in the world that you can say, because they've experienced something that is so internal, that means so much to them, that they're so excited. It's like the people on the streets that are like, you know, praising Jesus and you need God. And, you know, the way I like to think of it is they mean right. But it's they have these breakthroughs, these things in their mind, and they're so excited. At least in Kanye's thing, he's so excited to get out the world and share this wealth of knowledge that he just figured out, that he just needs to get it out there. And I think that and in fact, I know, because when you really listen to him sit down and talk about stuff, you can see that it's actually what is going on in his, he's a little crazy. Absolutely. But all geniuses are crazy. And I even hate to call him a genius, but like, because musically he's really talented, and even at some of his apparel, like, you know, it's really great looking stuff. And you can see that I guess all the great minds are crazy, or are what we consider crazy. You know, it's even hard to even want to call Kanye a genius because of how stupid he sounds, right? It's because at face value, you're going, the fuck, man, shut the fuck up. Did you really just say that? But when you listen to him, I get it. I actually get it. And I want to hate on Kanye so much, and he does things that are ridiculous, that you can't even defend. But when it comes to him just articulating his thoughts, I think he just jumps the gun. That's the consciousness thing that you said, the flow or the stream of consciousness. I actually just think when he has a breakthrough, he just goes. He just goes, and he just wants to get it out there, but he doesn't really think about it. And he's such a huge figure that, like, what he says carries weight. It carries a lot of weight. If I did the same thing on my Twitter, people would just be like, dude, fuck, I'm just going to unfollow Jeff. Like, these guys are on the fucking deep end. But it's Kanye West we're talking about here, and somebody that's so narcissistic and egotistical on top of that, you know, if Kanye didn't do a lot of the crazy shit Kanye has done in the past and continue to do, I think a lot of people would call him a genius. I think a lot of people would go, man, that Kanye West guy, can you imagine if his demeanor was completely different? If he was just like, you know, super chill, didn't go on stage and take people's awards, didn't call George Bush, he says that he doesn't like black people, doesn't go out and do all these, you know, crazy things and go on these epic rants and tweets crazy shit about Trump, even though, like, even the way the whole Trump thing, and he even talks about that in detail on what he's actually trying to accomplish. I actually think people will go, man, that is a smart dude. That's a guy that you know, he's woke, right? He's a different type of aware. Now, not everything, people are going to agree with everything he says, of course. He's not like objectively saying things, but I respect his ideas. I just hate with a passion the way he just strings them together right away.
So I get you. And I'm gonna let you finish, but Kanye West is the craziest motherfucker of all time. Look, I think Kanye West is musically incredibly gifted. As a producer, he changed the rap game. He's musically very gifted, and he's not. I agree. He's not. I agree to the point where he's not stupid or anything like that. I don't think he's completely, blank upstairs or anything like that. But you know, I wouldn't go so far to say that definitely wouldn't go so far to say that he's a genius or that he even has any seriously profound thoughts. If I'm going to be completely fucking real with you. This guy, I mean, ironically, he had a tweet on April 30th that said, after your whole conversation about what you hate that he just fucking, how he just rambles, just fucking goes and goes and never gets to a point and just fucking whatever. He had a tweet on the 30th, said, "Stop thinking about things for a long time without saying what you think."
Exactly. See,
Okay.
that's literally what he's doing. Right?
Exactly, right?
Yeah,
And that's fine. That's fine. And maybe to some people, being able to listen to and watch the proverbial cogs turn as he's digesting a thought that popped into his mind while he was eating his Wheaties in the fucking morning, and then he had to call up T.I. and be like, "Yo, rubber band man, and let me talk to you for like 6 hours about the contents of my cereal because there's DHT in it, bro, and I just need to talk about it." And then like he'll come out with a tweet like where is this? It's somewhere. "Most fear is learned." And this fucking tweet gets 112,000 likes and 27,000 retweets and 5.4 thousand comments. And like, if you sat down and asked him, "Kanye, explain this tweet," and he rambled for 45 straight fucking minutes as to how he came to this thought that most fear is learned. It's not a profound thought. It's definitely not an original thought. It's just reality. But the thing is, maybe to a lot of people who haven't necessarily looked at fear in that light, all of a sudden that strikes as a stroke of fucking genius, right? Like if you're not even remotely reasonably read, then maybe that would be profound. Or like he'll say
one other thing that I like about Kanye is and what actually gives him a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for, makes me respect him a lot more. Whether you saw it, well, you'll see it when you watch the rest of the Vans video, but then also in this interview, because the interviewer challenges him on a lot of stuff. What I really like about Kanye is he doesn't just say what he thinks, but he'll also listen. He's a great listener, and because he's a guy about information, so he likes to get people's perspectives. He likes to hear, so he's respectful when it comes to a debate. And he's also not the type of person that will hammer down on what he's saying. He's willing to change his mind. And that's what I love about Kanye.
That's great.
Especially in this, is he's not one of these dense fucks that thinks he's a stroke of genius and that's it.
Well,
and
he
whatever
definitely thinks he's a stroke of genius.
Let me finish. Let me finish it.
Yeah.
And he thinks that his genius is that's the show, right? It's listen, I'm Kanye. I thought of this. Whatever you're thinking, you're just not on my level, dude. You're not seeing it the way I see it. You need to get woke like me.
I feel like he's actually said almost those exact words multiple times, though.
Well, no, I'm telling you definitively.
Yeah,
that's just not. He may have. I mean, in the past, I have no idea. But the Kanye that we're getting right now, especially in this documentary, where he's been challenged and he's had his opinions changed, where people are like, "Dude, I don't know about this, and this is why," and he'll pause for a minute, and you'll see the gears turning, and he'll wait, and he'll go, "You know what? I think you're right," and he'll change his perspective on things, and I think that's great from especially somebody that is so narcissistic and egotistical, and somebody that is a self-proclaimed genius. He's willing to change things. He's willing to change his thought on things. And that's good.
And
a
that's
lot
great.
of people,
That's
a lot of people
positive.
aren't. A lot of people will just
Absolutely.
argue for the sake of arguing.
100%. I mean,
It's like he's not in it to argue. He's in it to educate,
Sure.
or be educated.
Sure. But he's still not all there. He's just not all there.
No, he's not.
Like, period. I mean, I don't agree with the analysis of what he said about the 400 years slavery being a choice and extrapolating that to a comparison of modern day, black living and looking backwards and not looking forwards and trying to get past that. because
it's hard to when that's the only thing that you heard, right? So
but, I mean, I'll
TMZ
go watch.
will cut
I'll go watch a bunch more. I mean, and if it happens to change my mind, then it happens to change my mind. But there wasn't a cut. I mean, like I listened to his whole stream of conscious around that. Even contextually. So like Panic said before, he mentioned some things that would have you believe that when he got to that point of his verbal diarrhea that he was trying to make that connection. But even for me,
ingredients, but the cake never got baked.
Yeah, like even for me, if I was listening to that whole thing and he was touching on that, I would agree with that point, because I don't think anyone disagrees with that there are large sections of the black community that are having a really hard time getting past what's happened in the past and try and work actively, even though there's still fuckery happening right now, but try and work more actively forward. I don't think very few people anyway, are going to disagree with that concept. But that, even as that attached as context to him saying the 400 years choice thing, those to me are so wildly different. I can't.
They are. He just did it. They are. He just did a very, very. It's a poor choice of words. I'm not backing up what he said by any means. What he said was retarded. It was just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I tweeted out, I was like, the fuck, dude? This isn't Django Unchained. You know? People aren't just going to get up and fucking say, we've asked for slavery. It's been 400 years. By the time we get a change going here.
I personally, and I'm not speaking for you, I personally think that honestly, in that moment, and perhaps still until, like you said, he seems to be a man of changed opinion these days, but I honest to God think in that moment, what came out of his mouth, because like you said, he just goes. It's whatever comes out of his fucking brain. There's no thought. There's no anything. It's like when you ask somebody a question and you want them to answer immediately to try and find the most truthful response and not something that they premeditate. So when he's sitting there and he's having his little powwow with himself, stand up at the front of TMZ, and he says that line, I honest to God believe that in his mind, the connection that was being made there was, if that shit went on for that long, there was a decision being made that we are just going to accept it, and that's going to be it. I honest to God think that's it. I'm not saying that he does right now, 3 days hence, since perhaps his mind has been changed. Maybe it was even changed the moment that Vans stand up and literally verbally strip that motherfucker naked for all the world to see. For all I know. But in that fucking moment, Kanye West, in my opinion, staunchly believed that since that shit went on.
I think he did too, but I don't think he meant physically. I think he meant mentally.
Well, everything's mental, right? Because you
act by chains, right?
You act. Well, no, but obviously, but your actions your physical actions are manifest of thought. Like that's why physical abusers that can hold down people just mentally, they don't have to go up and punch the person. They can verbally keep them in check because everything is mental. So it's like watching it's like slavery, but you'll see these relationships where like women in a relationship are the physical and mental abusers, and the man who could be syndrome. Terry fucking Crews, who's this 6'2", 240-pound rip a car in half motherfucker, is being bent to his will, is being bent by this 5'4", 46-pound soaking wringing wet woman. It's not because there's a physicality in check, it's because it's a mental thing. So yes, absolutely. I mean, he's going to like that's absolutely it with the choice perspective. But I mean, what are your only options in that time but to think about it, stop doing it, and you know that if you stop, you're going to come up against physical consequences. Whether you are in the midst of shaving the head of a family's neck with a straight razor and you say, you know what, fuck it, and just kill him right there. Just fucking slit his throat, be done with it. And maybe you kill the whole family. Well, here's the problem, is that where the fuck are you going to go?
There's a lot more families around.
Exactly. Where are you going to go? You're not just going to like run away and it's going to be peachy. Like, it's just not going to happen that way, right? So there's so much to it. So when he said that, it's regardless if he meant it in a mental or physical way, it was a fucking retarded comment. And I don't think that I think my fear of this is that because people sometimes look at Kanye like a bit of an unstable but kind of genius-y figure, is that like they do with Jaden Smith, for example. There's hordes of young people that look at Jaden Smith like he's literally the second coming of Christ. Like this dude goes on and capitalizes every starting word of his tweets and says some crazy shit, and people are like, please daddy, have my kids. Like that shit exists for Kanye West. My concern would be that they're gonna literally try and pick apart these stream of consciousness moments and interviews with Kanye West like it's a Shakespearean fucking play like you do in university, and you read a sentence and on the surface you're like, yeah, that shit means this, and then you sit down, you listen to your professor ad nauseum tell you this long stream of fuckery that seems to be nothing about what you just read because you're reading into it. It's like walking into a fine art museum and you see a fucking white canvas and it's like pensive snowstorm or pensive polar bear in a snowstorm, and it's just white and it's selling for $10 million, and there's this like skinny like older woman in like leopard print standing next to the fucking Monopoly guy, and they're going, yes, it speaks to me on a societal level, yes, it's totally worth $10 million, and it's just some 4-year-old fucking took a paint roller and fucking covered a canvas. Like, bitch, you read too far into it, you're looking too deep. And that's my fear with Kanye West's bit, is that he said some stupid shit, and all that needs to be said is Kanye West said some stupid shit. We don't need to put a suffix at the end of that says, but, you know, if you look at it a little deeper and you rearrange the words this way and you fucking alphabet soup the motherfucker, then yeah, you know, maybe he wasn't. Maybe, you know, well, we just misunderstand, you know, what Kanye, because he's a genius and his mind works in mysterious ways, and he just, that's my concern. It's a little silly. I think it could be just truncated to Kanye said some fucking crazy shit, and whether he meant it or not, or if his mind changed at that moment, it was fucking bananas, and it's indicative.
I said he said crazy shit. I mean,
yeah, it's indicative.
I mean, it's fucking stupid. But I also believe that Kanye is saying these things in a good heart. Like he's saying it in a non-malicious.
I don't think he's being malicious.
Like there's no. He's not. He didn't put out those words.
He wasn't up there to light a fire for those reasons.
To fucking light a fire. Yeah, I think he did it with good conscience, but he's just horrible at saying what's. He needs to shut up. He just needs to shut up and really either shut up completely or just shut up and think about what he's going to say before he says it, and then say it. And chances are, after he still says it, it's still going to come off probably crazy. Like, you know, because it's a lot of what he says he overthinks a lot of things, but it is what it is. You should definitely go and check out the
I'm going to watch that 100%.
Stuff. It's worth the watch.
I will 100% watch it.
I think your thoughts on him will change a little bit. I still think you're going to think he's crazy for sure, but I think you're going to go, okay, I get it. I get him now.
I think that I think a couple of things about Kanye, and this will be dangerous territory. One, I think he's on the spectrum, to a degree. I think he's got shades of autism in him. Not that that's a negative thing. That may or may not explain why he tackles things the way he does, and also to a degree why he's so damn good with fucking music. It wouldn't be out of the ordinary. Part two is, as soon as his mom died, he went from slightly crazy to batshit insane real quick, and understandably so. That was a pretty traumatic thing, and coincidentally, his album coming out, he's got the plastic surgeon who just so happened to fuck that surgery up, and his mom passed away. That's going to be the album cover, and it's all about forgive and whatever, and that's great. But as soon as that happened, that's when we went from just Kanye being a little wonky to holy fuck, Kanye is unhinged a little bit, and certainly continues to show it. But, you know, I agree with you as well. I don't think he's being malicious. He just said some stupid shit. He just said some stupid shit. Hey, Jeff, hit me up with the world's fastest movies and TV segment jingle.
Movies, TVs.
Deadpool 2 has a Celine Dion music video that you should definitely also watch after or before or both.
So good. So good.
It's one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
It's Celine Dion's greatest video ever.
Yeah, it's good shit.
I don't know about that, but yeah,
it's just a joke,
good.
Jeff.
It's
a
good.
joke.
It was good. There's that. It was. I just love that it happened. A couple of Canadians doing some crazy shit for a movie that's probably going to be fire. So there you go.
Oh, it's gonna be good.
I've discovered today that Justin Lin is going to be directing 9 and 10 for the Fast and the Furious movies. So that will make his total up to 6 by the time this is all said and done. What are your guys' thoughts? Are Justin's your up on you like them more, or do you like the other ones in the series more? What are your stances on Justin's take of the Fast and Furious? Because he started with Tokyo Drift, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm completely okay with Justin. I didn't like Tokyo Drift too much, but I think he's done some other ones too. And
I think he did 4 and 5.
Who did 7?
7 was no, I think the last one was James Wan. Was number I think 8. James Wan did
8 was Wan.
Was 8 was Wan? Yeah, there's so many of them now.
Yeah,
so
it's getting hard to keep up.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but hey, he
hasn't done bad stuff, so I'm good with him.
Yeah, I'm okay, and I think I mean, listen, Fast and the Furious, it's going to be a fun popcorn movie regardless. I mean,
it'll be $1 billion
whether
movie.
it's Justin or James or, fucking Michael Bay, right? It's going to be, you're going to have all these characters. I think the biggest thing to be concerned about is the actors, because The Rock is basically have taken over the franchise. Vin Diesel and The Rock hate each other. In the last movie, they didn't even do it. They didn't even do a scene together, right? They didn't even want to be. They couldn't even be on the same set as each other. The Rock is doing a Hobbs spinoff. There's been talks. Tyrese and The Rock hate each other. Tyrese is super pissed that The Rock basically held up Fast and the Furious for 2 more years because he wants to do a Hobbs thing, and The Rock's schedule is so big that he only can start filming this side movie at a certain time, so the next one isn't supposed to be until 2020. And Tyrese
held up all
needs a
the other
paycheck.
actors.
It's all he's known for. Paul Walker obviously passed away, and it was all about family. And The Rock kind of came in, and it's The Rock. I mean, The Rock he's such a big celebrity. He's such a big presence that it overshadows everybody. It even overshadows the franchise, where it's when you think of Fast and the Furious, you'd always think, hey, Vin Diesel, sort of the main guy. You don't think that anymore.
Vin Diesel and Paul Walker.
Yeah, that was. But then you just think of the group of guys and gals, and now it's The Rock show. And The Rock is the one that brought in some serious money when the franchise was going downhill. In the box office. As soon as The Rock touched it, gold, $1 billion franchise every time. And that's, there's a lot of egos, man. You got to think of the guys that are in that. They're
I have a
alphas.
question that might be, or just a hypothetical that might be shot down real quick, but if because obviously when The Rock first entered the franchise, The Rock isn't what he is now. He was growing at a crazy pace, but he isn't what he is now, right? So, was the franchise, if they didn't get The Rock for when he first entered the franchise, but they still took the direction, they took the series in the direction that it inevitably went. So let's say that they did it, but they had somebody that wasn't The Rock. But they still went with the let's get crazier and crazier and a more actiony and less car culture. Do you think, obviously it wouldn't have done as well, maybe, but then again, this also boosted The Rock's career quite a bit. But do you think...
It was mutually beneficial early on.
Yeah, it was mutually beneficial early on. So it's really hard because there's a symbiotic relationship going on here. But do you think
if The Rock is not in the next Fast and the Furious movie, if he's not in the next Fast and Furious movie, it doesn't do as well. It doesn't even
now. But I mean,
it won't even make $1 billion. It won't make $1 billion.
But I mean, when they first entered the franchise. So if we could press the rewind button, right, and The Rock wasn't Hobbs, but they still do everything the same. Do you think the franchise was still getting to number 8 or 9 as it is right now?
Yeah.
I think it all depends on the actor. If they need all the movies were exactly the same, but they had a different actor than The Rock, I think it might not be as huge, but it'll be very close.
Yeah, I don't think it does the box office. Obviously, doesn't do near the box office numbers because The Rock is a massive draw. It does well. I mean, it's Fast and the Furious. It's not like the franchise has ever been on its way out. You know, it just wasn't making the
It
money
had some
that it
weaker
was.
showings.
And also the whole souping up of the car thing, you know, was phasing out. You know, that where it was starting to become sort of gaudy to soup up your car like that. It was like, dude, are you know, really? You know, you got a loud pipe on your car and you've got, you know, glow underneath your vehicle.
Just car culture just shifted.
Lights.
Shifted, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So, you know, it was inevitable. I think if The Rock wasn't in it and Paul Walker had obviously passed away, I think that they may have never done another one again. I think
they would have walked it out at 7.
I think they would have walked out with Paul Walker. But since The Rock is such a massive superstar, there's too much money. There's too much money on the table. And that's why he's getting his own Hobbs movie. That's why they're doing their own spin-off. It's going to be him and I think Jason Statham are doing their own thing. And Vin Diesel is pretty much getting the back door. I mean, it's Vin Diesel's baby. Like this is you know, Vin Diesel's got this and Triple X. And that's pretty much the show.
You got the Riddick franchise too.
Yeah, but
that's not as huge.
No, yeah, it's just I don't even know if we're ever gonna get another.
Like I get where
dude doesn't need to work a day in his life anymore.
No, hell no.
I get where Vin's coming from because I think that, you know, for Vin, obviously it wasn't about the money after a while because he'd already made all of his money at that point early on in the franchise. Those movies made all sorts of money. He got paid real well.
He produces all these shit. Like he gets, he's a big dude. He's not just the actor.
No, he's heavily involved. Yeah.
Oh, he's like running the show, bro.
He's
like
full on producer, exactly.
You know, beyond the studio heads. Like the studio heads is like the only people that can say, you know what, Vin, you're off. Or like you're not doing this. Like Vin is
like
producing.
Working with Vin.
He's like helping writing.
They like working with him.
Yeah, like when I would too. When your movies are making billions of dollars, right?
So,
I mean, you don't break the formula. But The Rock literally has been putting up ultimatums. Like I'm not fucking working with him. And the problem is The Rock is such a huge draw, and he's making like Jumanji is one of the biggest movies of all time now. You know, everything that he touches. I mean, even Rampage that just came out, although it wasn't like $1 billion movie, and it still did. It still made money. Like even Rock's misses are still big money. Well. So the problem is it's all about those ticket sales.
Sure.
And sadly, if The Rock does not want to work with Tyrese, bye-bye, Tyrese. You're gone. Like, you're just gone. Like, if The Rock goes, and they hate each other, bro. Like, they fucking hate each other. Like,
Tyrese would just pay Tyrese to go away. Did you see the video
where Tyrese cried? Like, there's a YouTube video where he literally is crying and blaming The Rock for taking food off his table is talking about his daughter and he can't afford to pay the bills. And then, like, there's another video where he go out into his garage and, like, show off, like, 3 cars, and I think my car might even be nicer than all 3 of those. So it's like he's trying to show off like his money and shit. Like, he's like Tyrese absolutely he blames The Rock for fucking up this family, essentially, like breaking the family. And you know what? He's probably not fully wrong. Like, The Rock did come in, put his stamp down.
It's a giant ensemble cast, though. The rest of the ensemble does not get huge paydays.
No, they don't.
They require their movie every 2 years deal.
Yeah, and The Rock is not having it because he wants to take the Hobbs. They're pissed because he should have said, Tyrese said, well, we've been a franchise for so long, we're such a family, and we're tight knit and stuff, and even the passing of Paul have made us closer, and all this other stuff where you should be telling the studio you don't want to do the Hobbs movie. Like, you don't want to do it because it's going to slow up everything else.
Or do it later. Yeah.
But of course, The Rock is going, hey,
I want my movie.
I'm a
franchise.
workaholic. The people are screaming because I'm down for a Hobbs movie. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm down for.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't give a fuck about a Hobbs movie, to be honest with you. Like
I'm all down for
the Fast franchise. I found the Fast characters more interesting than the Hobbs as a character.
Yeah.
Hobbs is a great addition to the formula, but I don't feel like he's a spin-off worthy.
Well, here's the thing: is I don't think that's the argument to have, though. I think
if anyone's going to spin off, Hobbs makes sense, but I don't necessarily see it.
But I don't think it's the argument. I don't think the argument should be what character should we do a spin-off. It's The Rock gets a spin-off, right?
Yeah,
we're going. Who cares about Hobbs? Hops the character, I
Well, sure,
actually
'cause
don't.
Yeah, from
I
a
don't.
ticket
I don't even
sales
know.
perspective.
Yeah, I don't
obviously.
even know. Yeah, I don't even know much about Hobbs' character, right? I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm not going. When I think of Fast and Furious, I don't go, oh yeah, I can't wait to see Hobbs. It's I can't wait to see The Rock punch shit and jump off buildings and drive cars and his big fucking monster truck and smash thing and do quippy one-liners. That's what we want to see. When I shouldn't say I want to see a Hobbs spinoff. Is I want to see The Rock in his own Fast and the Furious movie with Jason Statham or whatever, and have an hour and a half of The Rock doing crazy shit in that world of the Fast and the Furious. That may even add to the story in some way. So yeah, I'm down for it completely. And I think everybody's gonna go and see the movie, right? If you're a Rock fan or a Fast and the Furious fan, you're gonna go.
Oh, I'm sure. Like ages ago now, when I was saying I understand where Vin's coming from, I understand where Tyrese is coming from. You know, it's definitely true that The Rock came in and fucked with the family aspect of what was going on there. But that's not really my problem. My problem is just perhaps that The Rock would have had some choices there going in where it was, you know, he can become part of the family, or he's just going there to do his job and go home and fuck everyone else. And the latter is the path that The Rock took, because like you said, he's a workaholic and he's just out there doing rock things. And you know, I don't really I like The Rock because I like you know that I like
great.
the fact I like he's a really nice dude. He's on the surface anyway, really nice dude. He's got a serious work ethic that's admirable, borderline psychotic.
Yeah.
You know, it's I just, this was, and I think we talked about this in the podcast ages and ages ago when we first talked about this topic with The Rock and the Fast and Furious, is that this was like the first time when I found out about him coming in and saying, all right, we're going to do this Hobbs movie. Fast and the Furious can go fuck off a cliff somewhere for like 2 years. I'm getting mine. Fuck all of you. Get fucked, I'm The Rock. This is basically what happened. And that was the first.
But to be fair, the studio presented this to him, right? Probably offered him a shit.
Sure.
I mean, the amount of money, right?
Sure.
The fact that and the fact that I think ultimately, he also wants to stick it to Vin Diesel. They never liked each other on set. They're always. I mean, they're two alpha dudes, right? They're you know, they want to outperform each other. They want to steal the scenes. And then The Rock comes in, and what's the best way to get at Vin? What is the best? Because The Rock don't need the money. What's the best way to get at Vin is to go, okay, you know what? I'm going to make Hobbs a smash hit. I'm going to make $1 billion, and I'm going to become the star. Because nobody in the Fast and Furious franchise got their own spinoff where they get their own movie, where people are buying a ticket to see Vin, right? You didn't get that. Well, you're going to get that for The Rock. Then, assuming the Hobbs movie isn't going to suck, which if it's an action movie and it's The Rock, it's probably not going to suck. It might be okay, but it's not going to suck. Chances are he's probably going to give it his all, knowing the stakes of what's involved here. So, assuming this is going to be a big hit, right? Probably not going to hit $1 billion, but say it does $500 million, right? Which is very likely. It does $500 million, and people fall in love. Now they're actually falling in love with Hobbs. Like, they're falling in love now with the character because the movie is so great, right? The movie's a good time. Now they're in love with the character. Now, when the next Fast and the Furious movie comes out, because Hobbs did so well, it's kind of like Black Panther did so well. Then in Infinity War, they have and this is no spoilers, in all of the marketing, it's all Wakanda. It's Wakanda this, Wakanda that, because they're basically like saying, hey, if you love Black Panther, oh fuck, you're gonna really like Avengers. You're gonna get more Black Panther and all the characters that come along with it. We're gonna be back in Wakanda. You're gonna see more of it. It's going to be the same thing with Fast and Furious, where you fall in love with Hobbs. Now you actually care because you go in there for The Rock. Now you're coming out with The Rock and you like his backstory, his origin story. You get it. You get to have time with this character. It's really the only character that you're going to really identify with because it's an actual character at this point. I think everybody in the Fast and Furious movies are playing themselves. It's Vin Diesel playing Vin Diesel, The Rock playing The Rock. Paul Walker was playing Paul Walker. Tyrese is Tyrese. Ludacris is Ludacris. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't even know if I can name. I don't even know if I can name all their names or character names because it's not the focal point. That's just not it. But now you fall in love with this. You go to the Fast and the Furious. Boom. Now The Rock is the star. They're going to be forced to put The Rock in more scenes because people are going to want to see more Hobbs because it's the character they love. And then ultimately, if it does really well and they get past 10, The Rock has options. Vin Diesel's pissed. Then it goes, okay, now it's The Rock's franchise, right? Now The Rock is going to reboot this Fast and the Furious. The Rock is going to go look for a new team. And that I guarantee these are the strategic things that I think the reason why The Rock took this, not only to stick it to Vin, but he also can see that this could be a money train after this 10 episode, because they always said they wanted to go to 10, and then that was the show. I really truly think that if the Hobbs thing goes well and Fast 9 and 10 do well, which I'm sure it will, the Hobbs in a couple of years will have his own thing, and that team is, as we know it, poof, gone.
Yeah. I mean, and for me, because I was a bigger fan of the earlier Fast and the Furious movies versus the later ones anyway, and I liked the whole family of characters. I didn't care that I didn't get a deep backstory into all 8 fucking characters and shit, but it was because they all together were like the one character of the movie, right?
Yeah.
So
the cars were the characters, right? And it was the actors when it started out. The cars were the characters.
Yeah, well, in the first 3,
driving the characters,
yeah, for
right?
sure,
That's what it was.
But but as far as the actors go, like as playing characters within the movies, obviously it was a car culture franchise to start. But they all just were representative of like the one character that went alongside the cars, and even when they went out beyond that, when The Rock first entered the scene, it was still that same concept where pretty much the whole family was just acting as like the titular character of the franchise, and The Rock was the new addition on the bad guy side. Mm-hmm. That was probably like parts of what I found the most enjoyable, and so while I've enjoyed the later Fast and the Furious movies, they've become less enjoyable because it's gotten further and further away from that, so it's
I get that.
I appreciate that it makes loads of money and it's making more money than it ever did, and I appreciate that The Rock is a big chunk of that, but that's not going to mean that I'm gonna respect. If it is true, The Rock just trying to get a dig at Vin Diesel, or The Rock is just doing it to, it's kind of like just like you said it,
man.
It's
yeah,
like you, it's
Hollywood.
like yeah, you just said it. He doesn't need the money, and he sees these group of actors, none of which are particularly enormous actors. Some of them, like Vin, isn't exactly doing fucking bad for himself.
Oh,
but
Vin's got a ton. I wouldn't be surprised if Vin is got The Rock money.
Oh, Vin
legit,
does. I think in
does.
top tens, like Vin is in top tens. So like Vin's doing fine, but he's behind the scenes.
He actually outright owns all the rights to Riddick.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When Fast and the Furious was like, Universal was going to send it to video after the third movie. It was so bad at the time. And Vin Diesel came back and said, "Look, let me reboot the franchise with the fourth movie," which is when it made a big comeback. Give me the rights to Riddick, and Universal's like, "Go, all yours."
Yeah,
he did come out with the movies after that, which were good. So.
I get it, and I get that it's Hollywood politics, and it's whatever. But because I would be I would more comfortably use the Hollywood politics line if this was like an up-and-coming actor trying to break out and really lock in the rest of their career. This is like the fucking Rock we're talking about. The motherfucker
laying the smackdown. That's what he's doing, right?
He's
laying the smackdown.
He's doing it because I think he's gotten to a point now where I'm a brave whatever Rock fans coming at me for this, okay? The Rock's mantra that we used to hear once in a blue moon of be the hardest working man in the room, okay? That his dad instilled that shit in him. And then we hear about his, $7 in the back of a fucking Dodge Caravan or whatever the fuck. Sure, and now we got the $7 because $7 productions, right? So we get that like just a little bit. And then it just then all like we hear then he comes out and says more and more, and then it's every second fucking paragraph, and now I feel like it's in every sentence, and soon it's just going to be the only English language words that he knows are $7 and be hardest working man in room. It just starts like removing just stitching parts of the English language, just reduce it to caveman speak, just hard-working room, man, and just $7, and and it's just screaming it from the fucking rooftops. And he's taking it, and he might be weaponizing it a little more than he needs to the point where maybe he's not being as. And he doesn't have. I appreciate this. He doesn't have any obligation to be as such, but philanthropic, and I don't mean in the type of ways where he goes and he solves the hunger issues in Africa, but you know what I mean, where you go into a franchise that's doing all right, it's not gonna fucking implode next Tuesday. It's a family of a cast of characters with actors who love each other and are having a great fucking time, and they're honest to God a family, and you come in and you fucking stick your big black 6'5", 280 pound weighty dick in the midst of that shit and fuck it up for no other reason but to try and like militarize your hardest working man in the room, and then to maybe not, allegedly maybe get a dig at Vin Diesel, who's
it's definitely part of it is definitely
like
personal,
come the fuck on, you're stop. Don't be that's just being an asshole now. Like, yeah, you're a generally good, and everyone has the capacity to be a fucking cunt, but like that's just stupid. Like, come on. Like, that's my take on it, and it makes me respect him a little less because I respect his work ethic, despite the fact I think it's gonna put him in an early fucking grave. You can do whatever the hell you want with your life, and if you don't want to be the dude in the van with $7 ever again, then that's fine. I get you. You don't want to be. In a van down by the river.
Now he's in a van with 700 mil.
Exactly.
Right? So
it's a different story.
Slow down. Slow down, Rock.
And then he goes out and he does the TV show Ballers, and then I'm like, all right, now The Rock is literally just trying to fuck. Now he's fucking with people. Now he's literally he's trying to do acting roles where that's how I feel like that's Ballers is how The Rock wants to act in reality all the time.
Yeah, it's a good outlet.
I think that's his outlet. His
therapy session is Ballers.
Is Ballers is what The Rock wants to do, but knows that if he does that, his image is fucked. But he's doing that shit.
He'll never be president if he does that.
Exactly. Shit. But he's doing that shit on the down low behind the scenes. So it's just like, so I appreciate The Rock. He's a great dude, hard worker, but I think low key, Rock's an asshole.
I think. Oh, I mean, yeah.
I think Rock's an asshole.
I could definitely.
He's not John Cena.
Speaking of
John Cena, last topic on this list. Yep, that's there. John Cena to star in $7 Productions. The Rock's movie. Okay, I'm gonna be real with you, and this isn't just because I just got to dig in on The Rock. This might be one of the worst titles for a movie I've heard in a long time. The Jansen Directive.
The John Cena Directive? What?
That literally sounds like nothing to me. That's one of the most bland-ass fucking titles I've ever heard. But hey, he's brought on John Cena. John Cena's going to be his man. Is this his first major production thing that he's doing? Like, what is the scale of the Jansen Directive? Do we know what the scope of this thing is?
I don't know anything about it. I saw the headlines a few days ago. So, I'm sure it'll. We'll know more when the time comes.
Okay.
We'll know more when the time.
Because I didn't know if this was like The Rock doing a fancy YouTube Red production, or if he's actually doing full blown. Okay.
Yeah, this is like a real. This is going to be like a big budget movie.
Okay.
Apparently.
All right.
So-
Yeah, I wasn't sure the scale. That's what I meant by the scale. I didn't know like just how big this was going.
Yeah, and also we'll add this in because with the podcast going on too long.
Yeah, whatever.
God of War.
Right.
So God of War is on its way to being greenlit for
Really?
a Netflix series,
Okay.
and Jason Momoa is heavily, like, he is begging to get on it, and they're in talks to have Jason Momoa star as the
My
Kratos
better
or
half
whatever his name
will
is.
immediately want to watch it as long as
And you
Jason
can-
Momoa is involved.
And you can totally see it because, like, you know, he's already got the build. He's
Yeah.
already got sort of that caveman type look to him. That rugged, you know, I could
He's an
definitely, I
attractive
could just see,
motherfucker.
I could just see Jason Momoa,
but he's gonna be
all, like,
bald. He's gonna have to
you know,
shave that beautiful
he's got to
fucking
shave-
head of hair he's got.
but he's gonna have an epic beard, right? Yeah.
I don't know.
So yeah, Jason
That-
Momoa is circling that. He wants it bad, and it's this kind of like Jason Momoa is sort of he's a tight cast type actor. I mean,
What about David Bautista? Yeah, that's a good mark. I mean, he's already bald and he's a big motherfucker.
No, I mean, Jason Momoa is God of War is it Kratos? That's his name.
Kratos
right?
is his name. Yeah.
Yeah.
You should know this.
Yeah.
You were only playing
know,
it
I'm
3
playing-
hours ago.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks cool. Like, take a look at this. Look. Like, take a look at that, and you can't tell me that is not fucking him.
Oh sure.
That is like.
I can
The moment you said the name, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the show.
I can get
Yeah.
behind that. You know who he almost looks like here in this picture? He almost looks like oh, Gabs, you're gonna have to help me out, but you guys might know too if you watched it. Vikings.
Oh yeah, what's his face?
I know
who you're
how do I
talking
not? How do I not fucking the lead character for Vikings?
I know who you're talking about. And you know what? You know, want to know what's funny about Vikings? And I haven't watched it in a while just because I've been letting episodes.
I'm
build
trying
up.
not to spoil you right now. Ragnar. Lothbrok. Yeah.
So the thing is with Vikings, and Kale and I, we binge watched Vikings. Like,
It's a fire show.
I never got into it until I got into it. Like,
Yeah.
there was like, I think it was like 3 seasons in or something, and we just
Shit picks
binged.
up.
Oh, it picks up.
Yeah.
And it is a very well done show. Like,
Oh yeah, it is.
you know, for something that goes on the History Channel, you're like, what the fuck? You're like, this
Dude,
shit is banging.
If it had Game of Thrones budget, can you imagine just how
Oh.
much more fucking epic it would be?
It'd be another Game of Thrones.
if
It'd
I'm gonna be
Game of
I'm gonna
Thrones.
be real with you, and we'll talk about this more when you're done Vikings, when you caught up, okay? Vikings got to a point for me where the writing is better in Vikings than it is in Game of Thrones.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it really is. And what I love so much about Vikings is the dialogue on the scenes where they're not even fighting, where they're, you know, it's like a political thing and there's talking going on. You can feel the stakes still involved, like just through the dialogue, right?
Yeah.
It's not one of these like, oh, there's a fight, now it's the good, get to the fighting. It's like, you know what, the fighting, there's tons of it, but it's like it's more to it. It's a good. One thing I'll say about this, and you might hate me for saying this.
Okay.
I actually didn't really, ever since the very beginning, and I won't spoil anything, but
Of course.
till you know,
Right.
I never really liked Ragnarok or whatever his Ragnar. I actually thought that character, like the actor, was poorly cast for the role. I just, there's something about, I don't know if it was because he poorly acted. Some of it was well done. Like, it wasn't like every time he was on scene, I'm like, oh God, you know, there was times where I just kind of forgot that I didn't like him. But throughout the entire show, I think if it were somebody, even say Jason Momoa, right? Just somebody that wasn't him. I think the show would have just even been infinitely better. I just thought I know the character is supposed to be a little weird. You know, I get that. I just thought there's something off about that choice. I felt like everybody else in the show belonged, and it was the right cast, and it was perfect. And at times, I even, you know, liked him and what he was doing. because there was some great moments. But I just throughout the whole show, I don't know what it was. I always just been kind of turned off by the guy who played. I don't even know his name. The guy who played Ragnar.
I get it. I don't think it's his acting. I think he really comes into like his shit later on. Like
he does, yeah.
It's like something fierce.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much you've seen, so I have to dance around how I even describe that. But like he really comes into it. I think it's more about how the character is written and how they're trying to display his progression as a character from a personality standpoint. So and no, at almost no points of that progression is it a comfortable personality in terms of if you met a person like him and you were having a car, you'd feel uneasy because it's hard to read them. So like I feel like that's a lot of it, and I didn't appreciate that in him until later on, and then when it gets to certain points in the series, you're like you have this holy fuck moment, like this guy is smashing this character out of the fucking park, and yeah, I just and actually at those points in the series later on is when I started to appreciate the Vikings more than Game of Thrones. I love me some Game of Thrones.
Really?
I love me some Game of Thrones, but I'm really and truly, and not just to be a fucking hipster about Vikings on the History Channel, because I know that's a difficult thing to not want to reach for. But the writing, I feel, in Game of Thrones for TV show for a myriad of reasons, not least of which is the fact that they're running on fucking fumes and notes from R.R. Martin to make this shit fly. That the writing is just better, and the delivery, on average, for the characters is stronger in the Vikings than in Game of Thrones. In Game of Thrones, you have people who are fucking 11 out of 10 in every scene, all the fucking time, smashing shit like crazy. But then you have people who are definitely not an 11 out of 10 in every scene, regardless what lines are being fed. And when you tack on things like time scale issues in the show, where it's like just they do a terrible job of telling you how much time has passed between what just you watched in a scene and then the next scene, and it takes like 2 more scenes before you go, what? Fuck, we just jumped like 3 weeks to 3 years in the fucking future, or like we're just and you're trying to like stitch it together. Like that kind of shit added up for me to the point where I'm still enjoying Game of Thrones, like because it's the production is so over the fucking top, so good, so much.
I'm happy Game of Thrones is coming to an end. It's definitely that time for sure.
But they're out of
stuff.
They're just out of stuff. Yeah,
you can tell that they're running on fumes, and it's just money that's getting the most of the way, and a handful of actors that are still alive. They're doing it, whereas Vikings, just on average, just the further it went, the more I appreciated it. So yeah, that's my take on it. But yeah, I'm sure if Momoa is part of God of War on Netflix, Gabs is going to be thrilled, but she's going to be salty about the fact he's bald. It's going to be the trade-off is bald, not so much. But
I mean,
Jason Momoa,
it's not guaranteed. It's not fully greenlit or anything like that. But I think what happened is God of War just sold so well, and
the character developed a lot into a way that's actually a usable character.
Yeah, and I think also now, and because I haven't played the game yet, I'm going through them now. But apparently, like this game, God of War 4, is like it's very movie-esque. It's very character-driven. It's very story-driven, and so I think people could visualize this being a Netflix series.
I could absolutely. I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah,
in the slightest.
Like even right now, playing God of War 1, like how he got his weapons and the pack that he made with the God of War and just sort of the backstory is actually very intriguing. And I kept visualizing it being done as a movie or a Netflix series where there's a lot of great shit. It's almost like like
it's
a
just,
superhero,
it's
right?
fucking
It's almost like
it's mythology. I mean,
Yeah,
the
it's like-
shit's already there for the
it's
taking.
so
Just
cool.
do it.
Yeah, it's just very cool. I like it. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, hopefully it happens.
Tech support. We got one question we're gonna do this week. Comes in from Will.
All right.
An oddball here. $59 lifetime supporter. Will's been bouncing around a lot. He's been hopping the tiers.
Okay.
He's been bouncing around.
It's nothing wrong with that.
$59 lifetime is fire. He asks, is there a band that you listened to growing up that's not making music anymore who you wish would make one last album?
Well, mine would be Linkin Park, and Chester, unfortunately, passed away. So that'll never happen. And I wish that I had gone to a Linkin Park concert
I wish
when I was
did too.
younger.
I had tickets to the one right before, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it's it's a shame because I had friends that have gone to Linkin Park. They traveled like to Toronto to go see them.
Mm-hmm.
Said it was it was an experience. It was
Fantastic
like a fucking it was transcendent. Like it was like you can't even imagine how awesome they sound live, and just the people, like the whole atmosphere of it. And I mean, I grew up listening to all of their albums, even the Reanimation, everything. I mean, I listen to it all, and I know, and Linkin Park is the only band, actually, the only actual band. Like, we're talking bands here. The only band that I have ever, in the history of ever, have on a regular basis, at least once a year, go on YouTube and listen to their full live concert, like in Texas or
that one concert video. Yeah, that one.
Like, and listen to it all, and then just go on a binge. Right? There are some other bands out there
shit on
that
vinyl.
They're incredible. So obviously they can't make they could make an album, but it would not be Linkin Park without Chester, right?
Wouldn't be the same.
So I think the best we'll get is like Fort Minor or something, right? With Mike Shinobi or whatever his name is. But
Mike
yeah,
Shinoda?
Shinoda, thank you.
Okay.
So yeah, that is my number one. I mean, two things: Linkin Park and Michael Jackson are the two entertaining musicians, or in the music world, that I wish that I've seen.
Of my choices, robbing me, Jeff.
But Michael's not really a band, right? So it's like, but Linkin Park is it for sure. I have to think about it. I don't have to think.
It's tough for me because, when I was around that age and I was listening to a lot of music, bands weren't really what our group of, like, my circle of friends listened to necessarily, and if they did, it was older shit. So like all my musician friends were listening to 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s rock or some shit, or even pop, like 80s pop music and stuff. We didn't really listen to 90s rock or anything along those lines to any major degree. Not to a degree that I owned albums and I religiously listened to entire sets of tracks and stuff.
Our era was boy bands. Right?
We were boy bands,
dude.
Yeah.
Let's
We
go
were
with.
boy
I'm gonna go with
bands.
NSYNC. I'll take NSYNC.
It's a good
You
one.
know what? Let's take another NSYNC album.
Yeah,
Or Backstreet
I could
Boys.
listen to Justin Timberlake and the Boys one more time. I suppose. I'm gonna pick one that, even though I'll only have a couple of songs that would just run through my head, it's one maybe that would be kind of cool to see. Let's go Savage Garden.
Ooh,
Savage
I'm
Garden's
down
good.
for that one too.
That'd be fun.
So I'd go for that. And if I could pick,
I would fucks if Savage Garden came here. If I would go to
I would
Savage.
fucks with
I mean,
Savage Garden.
it'd be at like the fucking casino, but
I don't care.
I would go.
Absolutely.
I would so go. Absolutely. It's one of those
the
performances
nostalgia
that you
thing.
didn't know you wanted
until you heard it.
until it's here.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're like, holy, you know what? Savage Garden on a Saturday night with a couple of
Yes.
keys sounds like a pretty fucking
Good time.
time.
Yes.
Like, sign me up.
So that's my pick for my era. And then not for my era, if I could choose to go to one concert from a band, I'd go Queen.
Ooh,
If I get one more album and maybe go to a concert from a band, it'd be Queen.
It's not a bad choice either.
That would be my two choices.
Hmm.
What are you thinking, Panic?
I'm gonna stick with NSYNC or Backstreet Boys for our era. Out of era is tricky. Just trying to think of the older stuff I like listening to. I would have said something like Metallica, but they did an album like 2 years ago. So.
Yeah, they're still doing. They're still doing.
Yeah,
their
they're still
thing.
doing stuff, so they're good. They're good to go.
Yeah, and the
thing about-
Backstreet Boys are still doing stuff too,
Yeah,
right? So
that's-
like
yeah.
NSYNC would be one that you
Yeah,
know,
for
would be
sure.
amazing. If NSYNC did a tour, like holy shit, they'd make so much money.
How many people are waiting for that comeback from
Oh, man,
before?
yeah.
Well, they
four?
were just on Ellen. They were on Ellen 2 days ago, or it was the day just before May, and it was the whole it's gonna be May thing.
Yeah.
And all of them were there, and they did a questionnaire, and they
got a star on the Hollywood Walk
yes, that's
also.
right,
That's
that's
why.
right. They got a star, and so they were all on Ellen show.
But where's before 4 at now?
Oh, you didn't see that? So two of them are brothers. They're called like Dan and something. I was listening to it on my stream there the other day. It's some of the worst shit I've ever heard in my life. They're like
Oh,
some
like
sort
right
of,
now? They're doing it like right now?
yes.
No, fuck off.
Yeah, dude. Two of the brothers are doing it, are still doing their thing.
Are they both rocking like slick back, like
Oh,
longer
no.
hair?
No, dude. They're full dad mode, bro.
Okay.
And it's not boy band shit. It's like Josh Groban type music.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll have to find it. I'll have to find the. Oh, here it is. It's called Ryan Dan.
Oh,
It's posted in the chat
no.
there. After the stream, you have to watch it. Literally, two of the guys, Ryan and Dan, they're just called Ryan Dan.
That's the best thing. Oh my God, look at them. One of
yeah,
them's
dude.
got that bad middle part, like that shitty, like
Oh yeah.
early 1900s type shit.
Well, this video's old, but they do have some newer stuff too, like some stuff that came out last year.
I mean,
and
that's
shit, like they're still
2009.
doing it.
Yeah, that's just, oh my God, they still managed to find a way to look douchey.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it's
Oh, yeah.
possible for them to not kind of look douchey. I
So,
mean,
yeah,
but let's be real. These guys had a song for kids that was about getting your dick sucked. So, you know, it's kind of par
If
for
you
the
get
course.
down on me, I'll get down on you.
Yeah. Somebody asked him that question in an interview once, and he said, you know, we wouldn't have admitted it before, but yeah, that was totally, that's totally a thing. So, yeah. But that's it. On that shining note,
Next
if-
week we'll
I
talk
got
about Avengers.
I got my out of era
Oh, okay.
Journey.
Hey,
Journey's dope.
You know
I love
what?
Journey.
The
My dad got me to Journey.
replacement
Journey
lead
or
singer.
Rush? I would go for that.
The replacement. Well, Rush is still touring, in my knowledge.
But they're not doing new stuff.
No. So Journey's replacement guy that they did, they found like a replacement lead
he's
singer.
amazing.
Yeah, he's good.
Actually, it's if you close your eyes,
It sounds just like the original.
unless you're like some sort of musical savant, it is almost impossible to tell the difference.
Dude, it was like when Daughtry friggin' did the Hemorrhage song from Fuel, and I was like, oh my God, he is actually on par with or better than the original lead singer.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I remember when I first heard that the replacement singer for Journey, and I was like, I can't hear a fucking difference. Is this dude lip syncing this shit right now? Because it legitimately just sounds exactly the same. So yeah, props to him. I'd be down for some more Journey, for sure. Journey's a good time.
Yeah, I have to think about that a
Well,
little bit.
ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to journey on out of here to get some food, watch Kanye West do his Kanye best in this interview, edit this podcast, and then maybe listen to some new age
Why don't you listen to the Kanye West thing while you take a shower?
Ryan Dan trip.
Oh fuck.
Oh, if you get down on me, I'll get down on our Patreon page, patreon.com/technicalalpha. You should go and check it out. Join the community there. We'd love to have you. We've got some Patreon producers from over on that Patreon page paying me to do things like not update the end card for this stream. Although I keep forgetting to do it, but it never changes anyway. The list has basically just been the same now for a long time. So we got Jetrix, Postal Panda. Jetrix is literally, I think, you know what? It's the same joke every week, but Jetrix, keep winning the lottery. Postal Panda, Chico, Derek P, Naily, Adam B, Jamaican J, Jorbach, Toadstool, Matthew M, and we're going to toss in Frycy, even though he's not on this list anymore, the actual list, because Frycy's just given so much money, it doesn't matter. He's just going to get tossed in one way or t'other. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Also, check out technicalalpha.audio if you want to see the podcast and check out some older episodes, and you can listen to all of them there and want to listen to them faster or slower if you want. Technology's great. And then, of course, we're on iTunes and everywhere else, and you can check out where we all are on that website. We appreciate your support as always. Thank you for stopping by to watch the live show or seeing this on YouTube, and if you're listening to this on the RSS feeds as well, bless all of you. And until next week, do us a favor, stay safe, and until the next one, same time, same place. Peace.
Bye.